Kota Bandung terkenal banyak terdapat perguruan tinggi. Salah satu perguruan tinggi ternama yakni organisasi tertua di Jawa Barat, yakni Paguyuban Pasundan. Paguyuban Pasundan lahir sejak tahun 1913 dengan visi terwujudnya masyarakat Indonesia yang memiliki harkat dan martabat, serta misi memerangi kemiskinan dan kebodohan. Pendidikan. Di tahun 1960, Paguyuban Pasundan mendirikan Universitas Pasundan atau Unpas, yang kini menjadi salah satu perguruan tinggi swasta ternama di Indonesia dengan akreditasi A dan meraih ranking ke-31 perguruan tinggi swasta se-Indonesia versi 4ICU. Untuk memenuhi sumber daya manusia yang unggul di Indonesia, di tahun 1999, Universitas Pasundan kemudian mendirikan Pascasarjana Universitas Pasundan yang terletak di Jalan Sumatera, nomor 41, Kota Bandung. Hingga saat ini, Pascasarjana Unpas memiliki 3 program doktor, yakni Doktor Ilmu Manajemen, Doktor Ilmu Sosial, Doktor Ilmu Hukum, dan 11 program magister, yakni Magister Administrasi dan Kebijakan Publik, Magister Manajemen, Magister Teknik Industri, Magister Ilmu Hukum, Magister Teknologi Pangan, Magister Pendidikan Matematika, Magister Teknik Mesin, Magister Ilmu Komunikasi, Magister Pendidikan Bahasa Indonesia, Magister Kenotariatan, dan Magister Akuntansi. Memiliki ruang kuliah yang nyaman, dengan dosen pengajar yang mumpuni dan berpengalaman, serta berbagai fasilitas lain, seperti perpustakaan,
mudah menemukan berbagai referensi dan jurnal internasional, menjadi alasan saya untuk memilih Pasca Sarjana Unpas.
Ruang sidang, aula seminar, laboratorium bahasa,
fasilitasnya juga oke, nggak kalah sama kampus lainnya kok.
Media online, tempat ibadah, serta kafe rooftop dengan pemandangannya yang indah. Berbagai kegiatan telah diselenggarakan oleh manajemen dan mahasiswa Pascasarjana Unpas. Bahkan, pernah mendatangkan Presiden Indonesia Joko Widodo, sejumlah menteri, dan tokoh nasional lainnya. Kegiatan lainnya yang rutin digelar di Pascasarjana yakni reuni IKAP Pascasarjana Unpas, seminar nasional dan internasional, serta rapat kerja manajemen dan pimpinan.
Pendidikan harus menciptakan mahasiswa yang memiliki karakter asertif, yaitu karakter petarung yang pantang menyerah dan pemberani. Karakter mahasiswa yang seperti itulah yang nantinya bisa menyelamatkan aset-aset Indonesia yang tersisa dan mengubah dunia. Pasca Sarjana Unpas mencetak mahasiswa yang luhung ilmunya, pengkuh agamanya, dan diharapkan melahirkan para pemimpin yang cinta dan dicintai oleh masyarakat dan bangsanya.
Universitas Pasundan telah memiliki 37 program studi, yaitu 25 program studi sarjana, 9 program studi magister, dan 3 program studi doktor. Program studi di dalam Universitas Pasundan sebagian besar telah mendapat akreditasi A. Fakultas yang terdapat di dalam Universitas Pasundan adalah Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Politik, Fakultas Teknik, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan, Fakultas Ilmu Seni dan Sastra, Pasca Sarjana.
Selamat untuk Unpas, selamat untuk Jawa Barat, karena bagaimanapun ini adalah kebanggaan rakyat.
Dengan prinsip
Jawa.
smart, endurance, dan teamwork, berkuliah di sini banyak sekali poin plusnya.
Di sini pun kami belajar tentang konversi energi dan desain engineering.
Di teknik PWK Unpas juga banyak banget praktikum-praktikumnya. Jadi, bukan hanya sekedar teori yang kita dapatkan, tetapi juga aplikasinya di lapangan.
Selain berurusan sama sampah dan air, kami juga dibekali ilmu perencanaan infrastruktur, pengolahan limbah berbahaya, remediasi lahan terkontaminasi, dan upaya proteksi lingkungan.
Bukan hanya meneliti keamanan pangan saja, di teknologi pangan ini, kami para mahasiswanya juga harus dapat meninjau kualitas produk pangan.
Teknik Industri Unpas menjadi kampus pertama yang menggunakan metode U-Learning dan UGT Center, serta menerapkan metode Enterprise Research Planning.
Satu yang menjadi kebanggaan Universitas Pasundan adalah Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis. Dengan 3 program studi, yaitu program studi manajemen, program studi akuntansi, dan program studi ekonomi pembangunan.
Saya, Dekan Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Pasundan, mengajak kepada seluruh elemen masyarakat, khususnya masyarakat Jawa Barat dan umumnya masyarakat Indonesia, untuk bergabung dalam wadah pendidikan tinggi milik Paguyuban Pasundan, milik kita semua.
Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Pasundan, Pengkuh Agamana, Luhung Elmuna, Jembar Budayana.
Pusing cari kampus, bingung nentuin jurusan, lulus sekolah ingin kuliah di bidang pendidikan. STKIP Pasundan adalah solusinya. 12 Juli 1986, STKIP Pasundan berdiri sebagai salah satu perguruan tinggi di bawah naungan Yayasan Pendidikan Tinggi Pasundan. Kenapa harus STKIP Pasundan? Karena STKIP Pasundan merupakan kampus dengan akreditasi B, fasilitas lengkap seperti sport hall, lab multimedia, lab bahasa, ruang micro teaching, fitness center, perpustakaan, dan stadion mini. Dosen yang berkualitas, biaya terjangkau. Program studi apa saja yang ada di STKIP Pasundan? program studi sarjana S1, program studi pendidikan jasmani, kesehatan, dan rekreasi atau PJKR, program studi pendidikan Pancasila dan kewarganegaraan atau PPKN, program studi pendidikan bahasa Inggris, program studi magister S2, magister pendidikan jasmani, magister pendidikan IPS. Wow, menarik bukan? Tentunya STKIP Pasundan akan menjadi solusi yang tepat buat kamu-kamu yang ingin mengembangkan bakat dan kuliah. Ayo, segera daftar menjadi mahasiswa STKIP Pasundan. Ayo, kuliah di STKIP Pasundan. Untuk informasi lebih lanjut, hubungi
Universitas Pasundan telah memiliki 37 program studi, yaitu 25 program studi sarjana, 9 program studi magister, dan 3 program studi doktor. Program studi di dalam Universitas Pasundan sebagian besar telah mendapat akreditasi A. Fakultas yang terdapat di dalam Universitas Pasundan adalah Fakultas Hukum, Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Politik, Fakultas Teknik, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan, Fakultas Ilmu Seni dan Sastra, Pasca Sarjana.
Selamat untuk Unpas, selamat untuk Jawa Barat, karena bagaimanapun ini adalah
tetapi juga aplikasinya di lapangan.
Selain berurusan sama, kami juga dibekali ilmu perencanaan infrastruktur, pengolahan limbah berbahaya, remediasi lahan terkontaminasi, dan upaya proteksi lingkungan.
Bukan hanya meneliti keamanan pangan saja,
Greeting and opening from the Rector of Universitas Pasundan.
The all participants international seminar. Good morning. Welcome to this seminar, and thank you for the speakers who are going to present their knowledge and contribute knowledge, their experience in the international seminar conducted by Economic Business Faculty. Talking about business continuing, we have to understand what the strategic for and what step to make us survive. Even though in pandemic COVID-19, we cannot, as far as we have concerns, business continuity is planning step or the fallacy decide to survive. It means everything that has corrected our choice. We are not going to make everything for everybody. We must set up our choice. What are we going to? We cannot produce our services, but the price cheap. It is not the appropriate time anymore talking about what happens in our company in coming 3 years or n years. At the moment, we can see and prove it by ourselves. Many factories and business have to reduce the number of production and employees, or to close their business to fire their employees, to reduce their employees' self to get no income all. If we look what is happened, we need the good strategy for our business survive. It has been our concern because this pandemic COVID-19 has been barriers in people movement and for business activities. So that why we need the appropriate strategic to continuous business. Once more, thank you very much for international seminar speaker today, saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We open the international seminar. Thank you, and I'm sorry I cannot join until the end this seminar because the other program cannot be represented. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Adi Yusuf, for the opening. We hope you enjoy your day for today. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is something that we are waiting for, a speech from Vice Minister of Finance Republic of Indonesia, Professor Suhasir Nazara, SA, MSc, PhD. With all due respect, the time is yours. We are still waiting for the Professor Suhasir Nazara. Okay, we are still waiting for the professor due to some events before. He's a little bit late for this event, but he will come later. Thank you. Excuse me, Mr. Rafi, maybe you can turn on your the speakers of Professor Swasil because he couldn't turn on his mic. He's already joined in this event.
Good morning to everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you hear me?
Yes, bro.
Should we start now?
Yes, sir. You can start now.
Very good morning to all of you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Once again, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to University of Pasundan University in Bandung, for holding this very timely and very stimulating event on the sustainable economic policies in supporting businesses in Indonesia. And I call it very timely because this is taking place in the midst of the COVID-19 that we see. I'm very grateful with the invitation to speak before all of you in this international seminar. And I'm also grateful because Pasundan University continues to improve and continues to excel in the academic life, including by holding this international seminar today. Coming from university myself as a professor of economics in the Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, I know it very dearly. It is very close in my heart that the academic life should continue to flourish. And I'm applauding Pasundan University for having this international seminar today. Ladies and gentlemen, speakers, and also other colleagues from Pasundan University, let me talk today about the economic situation of Indonesia. It is, we know it for sure that the economic situation of Indonesia right now is under pressure because of the COVID-19. So if the presentation can be shown, can be uploaded, thank you. Let me first talk very quickly about the COVID-19 and its impact on the economy and how the fiscal policy responded to the COVID-19. And I will also brief you a little bit about the economic update and also some policy direction. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, and also speakers for this international seminar, I think in terms of the timeline for the COVID-19, we all know that it is quite severe, and it is actually impacting the whole world. It is not only Indonesia, and right now it is very close, already exceeding 30 million infections throughout the world. And in Indonesia, it is also quite sparse, and it's also increased quite fast. And you can go to the next slide, and there are several comparisons that you can look at later if you are interested in this data. And also regions in Indonesia, there are some regions with high confirmation of cases. And given Indonesia is a very large country, geographically speaking, it is very well anticipated that the cases of Indonesia will be throughout the region, but one region will have very different profile of infections from the other. Java, as the most populated area, was impacted the most, and other regions slightly lower, but we have to be very, very cautious and very, very anticipating with the possibilities of spreading throughout the archipelago. Now, we know that this is health problem. Right from the beginning, this is a health problem. The situation of this health was brought about by the virus. And virus has no medicine. Just like we had the flu virus for so many, I think all of our life, we know the flu virus. This is also like a virus, and there is no cure on the virus, no medicine. What we have is the best that we can hope for is vaccine. But this particular virus has no vaccine just yet. It is very important that the effort toward the vaccine continues, and we are hopeful that in the future, and hopefully it's the near future, we will have the vaccine. Before we have the vaccine, the only way to stop the spread of this virus is by the physical distancing. We have to be very careful not to get the virus by keeping a distance one with the other, and by if we all keeping the distance, it's becoming social problem. It's becoming that's why on April the government decided to take an effort that we go to school from home, we are working from home, and we have our religious affairs, religious activities also from home. And it's becoming social problem. Now, when it becomes social problem, it's very easy to become economic problem. Economic then gets impacted. People cannot go to work. Some people with their permanent jobs is still okay, but people with the less permanent job, informal workers, is going to be affected. We know it from the beginning of this pandemic. We know it that it's going to become an economic problem. So that's why later I will explain to you that it will be the fiscal policy started to come up with certain anticipation right from the beginning in March. But we know it for a long time ago, it's going to become economic problem. What we have to stop is the financial problem. Financial problem, economic problem was a real sector. Financial problem can go to the financial sector, the financial sector stability. If the financial sector stability gets impacted, it will have a very wide sectoral across the sectors impacts to the economy. And that is something that we have to make sure not going to the financial problem. So from health problem, becoming social, becoming economic, and can become a financial problem. Now, financial problem can becoming trust. It is a trust to the system through the financial sector, because financial sector is a sector with a great amount of trust. Now, let me go very quickly. So this is basically the domino effect that we understand, and we have to make sure that we stop this domino effect somewhere. We hope we can stop it only on the between social and economy. But if it is possible, if it is very important, we have to make sure that from the economy, it's not becoming financial problem. So let me quickly go to some indicators that I can show you. And I'm not going to be very detailed here, but I want just to direct your attention to some of the indicators. Poverty and Gini ratio will worsen. Because of the economic problem, people receiving less income, people receiving less work, then poverty will increase. Gini ratio will also has also already slightly worsening. We have to be very worried about this. The next, the pandemic also brings in economic contraction. Now, you look at the Indonesia, the Indonesian data, the one that is blocked in blue. In the first quarter of this year, we were still growing at 3% economic growth. The rest of the world, you see already a lot of other countries in the world, even in the first quarter already in negative territory. You go with the Spain, UK, India was still positive first quarter, France, and then look at some of our neighbors. Malaysia, first quarter 0.7%, Philippines already negative, Singapore already negative, Thailand already negative. We were still positive 3%. On the second quarter, Indonesia went to the negative territory, minus 5.3% of economic growth. You look at our neighboring countries, Malaysia minus 17, Philippines minus 16, Singapore minus 13, Thailand minus 12. And then some other countries, you can read the data by yourself. Of course, our situation is not the best. There are some other countries who are better than us, but a lot of other countries are much worse than us. That is the point that I would like to convey today. If we look at the expectations for the rest of the year, if you look at the expectations, 2020, 2021, we have variations of outlook. The variations means either from IMF, OECD, World Bank, and others. This is the variations in the economic growth. That really means that we are very, very difficult in projecting the situation. So let's go to the next slide. The next slide actually shows about Indonesia. Our estimates at the Ministry of Finance, this is our September estimates for the 2020, our economic growth will be in the area between minus 1.7% until minus 0.6%. In 2021, we expect Indonesia will grow in around 5%. Now, if you look at 2021, the rest of the projecting institutions, you see OECD 5.3, ADB 5.3, and others around 5%. So it's pretty much uniform. But if you look at the 2020 projection, although the 2020 has already passed 9 months, we are already passing the September. But you look at the variations of projections from different agencies. OECD projected us around -3, ADB -1, IMF -0.3, World Bank in June still projecting us 0% growth. That really means that for the 2020, it is very difficult to project the economic growth because it is very, very dependent upon the situation of the COVID-19, how it's going to be going to evolve. And of course, if we are talking about the recovery of the economic recovery, there are variations of the economic recovery that may take shape. It can be Z-shaped recovery, like one on the upper left. So the economy from its normal course going down and then jump up and then going down a little bit. And then V-shaped recovery where the economy is going down and then going up and then stay. U-shaped recovery and then L-shaped recovery below, W-shaped recovery like that. So there are so many patterns that can happen. Now, there was a survey of 165 global economists in April. So bear in mind, this is in April, 5 months ago. Fairly in the middle of, well, for Indonesia, it is still in the beginning of the pandemic, but but for the rest of the world, it's already 3 months of pandemic. 56% of the global economy say the economic recovery will be in U shape. The blue one will be in U shape. U shape means if we go up and look at the up on the third graph on the top, third from the left, U shape means the economic situation will go down very deep and very sharp. And then there will be some level that it stays below a little bit before it's going back up. Now, U shape is very, very important. That means we have to be very, very cautious. Now, what is the fiscal policy? What should the government do in this situation? What is the fiscal response to the COVID-19? Ladies and gentlemen, let me go to the next slide. The fiscal response. Fiscal response should start with the understanding about the situation. This understanding of the situation is that COVID is a health problem. It decreases confidence. It's impacting the global demand and commodity prices, and it restricting mobility of people and goods. It's affecting the lowering, becoming productivity is lower, economic activity, real and financial sector gets lower. So that's why the fiscal response is basically the one on the below. Focus on health, providing social safety net, provide the industrial support. This is the business support, especially the small, medium, micro, small, and medium enterprises, and focus on the economic recovery. What does that mean? That means, let's go to slide number 16. It is very important that the government has a very flexible fiscal policy. Ladies and gentlemen, especially colleagues from abroad, from overseas, I should tell you that Indonesia has a very disciplined fiscal policy. Our law stating that our deficit, our fiscal deficit cannot be higher than 3% every year. We cannot go with higher than 3%. And since 2003, after the Asian economic crisis, no government in Indonesia has attempted to exceed 3% fiscal deficit limit. Indonesia is known internationally as a very, very strict 3% fiscal deficit observer. Now, COVID-19 provides us with a challenge that it is not possible to keep the fiscal deficit below 3%. Why? Number one, because the economic activity is going down. And because the economic activity is going down, then our tax revenue is going down. If the tax revenue is going down, then the standard fiscal policy prescription is lower the budget, lower the spending to keep the fiscal deficit below 3%, lower the spending. But during this COVID-19, we cannot lower our spending. We have to increase our spending. So the situation is that economic activity going down, tax revenue going down, but government spending must go up. So it is important to expand the fiscal deficit, and in order to allow us to be greater than 3% fiscal deficit, we produce the government, the law. The law number 2, which is initially is the emergency law number 1, becoming the law number 2, provides us, in Indonesia we call it Perpu number 1 2020, which becoming Undang-Undang number 2 2020, provides us with the legal basis that we can expand our spending. How to expand the spending? Next slide. We expand the spending on 6 areas. Number one, health programs. We increase very significantly our health programs. Number two, we increase significantly our social protection, cash transfer to the poor, cash transfer to the low and middle class, cash transfer to the villages, also cash transfer to the unemployed. And we also increase our sectoral and regional government spending. Government, local government, central government are focusing on the labor-intensive programs to provide people with jobs, and also the regional. We also provide regional loan if the regions would like to access loan from the central budget. We provide the MSME. On the below is the micro, small, medium enterprises. We provide interest subsidy. We put funding on the banking sector for credit enhancement, as well as the working capital guarantee. And we also, on the corporate financing, this is practically for our for our state-owned enterprises. And we also provide business incentives on the lower right. That is basically all tax measures. We reduce the income tax rates. We provide speedy VAT refund. We provide different tax deductions for different sectors. We are providing income tax exemptions on various imports. And the government also absorbing the government also absorbing the different tax cut that is possible. So with that, it is important that all of this becoming the budget. And the budget, let's go to the next slide. I would like to show you the budget. Where is it? 19. The budget, Indonesian budget, the deficit, which was initially designed for 1.76% of the GDP last year. Let me go back a little bit. The initial 2020 government budget, the initial 2020 APBN was decided by the parliament last year, October. That is the initial, the column initial. In the initial, the government decided to have the deficit 1.76% of the GDP. But right now with the Perpu number 1, we are increasing the deficit to 6.34% of the GDP. Look at the revenue, the red line. Revenue is going down. This is what I mentioned earlier. Tax is going down from 2,233 trillion to 1,700 trillion. But the expenditures must go up because we have to pay for the health, for the social transfer, for the micro, small enterprises and others. So this is the situation that Indonesia is having, and it is very serious. And we hope that that will be able to help the whole economy, so that the whole economy can be better. And we are hopeful that that in 2020, just like I mentioned earlier in the previous slide, the Indonesian economy will be improving from -5% growth all the way, improving bit by bit, gradually, so that we do not have to suffer too high economic contraction. And next year, we will be able to grow at 5%. Of course, 5% is because the lower base, as well as the gradual improvement of the economy. So let me mention a little bit about the 2021 budget on page 35, that we are now currently discussing with our parliament. For the 2021, we expect that next year growth will be 5%, inflation will be around 3%, and there are several others development target and macroeconomic assumptions. And next year's we expect that the deficit will be around 5.7% of the GDP. So it's still going to be higher than 3%. But if it is higher than 3%, our law currently allow us to be higher than 3% until 2022. And in 2023, our fiscal deficit should be below 3% again. So that is the fiscal discipline that we will have to do. So in order to do that, it is very, very important that the economic activities continue to take place. Fiscal deficit can only go below 3% if the revenue is going up, tax coming back up, and the spending is very, very efficient. That is the only combination to lower our fiscal deficit. We have to increase the economy. We have to grow the economy. And with the growing economy, we have tax revenue and the expenditures becoming very, very efficient. So how should we go about that? How should we go about that? Number one, ladies and gentlemen and colleagues, on the next slide, we are going to focus on several strategic policies in 2021. This is continuing from 2020. We will continue to support the accelerated recovery and the economic transformation of Indonesia. And some of our support will be shown with the education. We will spend continuously the 20% of the budget on education. And the next year, several plans already put in place. Several support already also been put in place. And we're going to continue our health expenditures. Health expenditures continuously because this is still very important for us. We still don't know when the COVID going to end, when the vaccine going to appear. So because of that, it is very important that we continuously with the health expenditures. We are going to continue with the social protection expenditures. Continue to support social protection program, our cash transfer program, social protection system based on the life cycle and anticipating the aging population will continue to be there. We are not going to abandon the infrastructure spending. Infrastructure still be very, very important for Indonesia. So next year, we're still going to spend on infrastructure just like this year. And to the extent possible, the infrastructure, especially rural infrastructure, will use the labor-intensive mechanism. Food securities are very important, and tourism. We hope that the next year we will be able to promote the tourism. If the vaccine is here, if the vaccine already appear next year, then we can push our tourism, up, and our strategic focus on the ICT is very important. Ladies and gentlemen, I think in the normal time, if we were in the normal time, then this kind of seminar will take place in physically. I mean, like in the hall or with a very, very a lot of people coming to a certain place. Right now, we are conducting this seminar virtually. And not only this seminar, a lot of government meetings, a lot of private sector meetings are now conducted through virtual Zoom or any other platform. So it is very important that we jack up our ICT capacity. On the education, we are also providing the support for connecting for students and teachers and school to connect with the virtual world. It is very important that we continue on this. So these are some of the strategic policy in 2021. I believe that those of you who are would like to know more about this can follow the news and media that the government will continue to communicate on this from time to time. The other thing that is also very, very important on our agenda is right now the government and the parliament is in the middle of discussion about what we call the omnibus law to unlock Indonesia's investment potential. So this omnibus law will cover a lot of areas, 11 areas that will be covered on this omnibus law. So for those from overseas, I can tell you that this is quite analog. The analogy of this is the Job Creation Act in the US. So Omnibus Cipta Lapangan Kerja is basically job creation. So this is Job Creation Act that we would like to put. And job creation is done through investment. Increase the investment, provide a good environment for the investment, and job will be created. So 11 clusters that you will see on below is the simplification of licensing, simplification of investment requirement, labor and industrial relation, employment, industrial relation regulations, protection, empowerment of the micro, small enterprises, ease of doing business, support for R&D, simplification of government administration, sanctions, simplification in the land acquisitions, government investment and project, including what we call the sovereign wealth fund that we will create, and also some simplification in the economic zones. The government and the parliament are now in the middle of the discussion. It's not really in the middle. We hope it is going to come to the final solution of this omnibus law, and the approval from the parliament. We hope we will obtain the approval from the parliament in the very near future, time. So we hope that the 2021 macroeconomic assumptions, as I mentioned earlier, growth of 5% next year will be supported by the budget strategic policy in 2021 and the investment omnibus law that we are now in the middle of discussing with the parliament. We hope that will improve the business environment in Indonesia. We have to continue to excel, and we have to make sure that we are going out of this pandemic and use this pandemic as a very important momentum to improve ourselves. So we hope that Indonesia will be able to protect the safety and health of its people. We hope the COVID-19 will come to an ease and gradual decline, and also getting out after we see the vaccine, and hopefully we see the vaccine quite soon. Let me stop here on my keynote remark. I would like to give you the university and Pasundan University once again a great deal of appreciation for conducting this international seminar, and I wish you all fruitful discussions despite the pandemic and virtual discussions that you are conducting. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Suhasil, for your time and inspiring lectures. Hopefully, we could get some insights. Anyway, if you have any other agenda, please feel free to leave the seminar. But if you'd like to stay longer, it's such an honor to us.
Thank you. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
But excuse me, sir. Let's take a picture first for this event.
Sure.
Mr. Rafi, please prepare for this, and all of the audience, please turn on your camera. We will take a picture shortly. Okay. Finish, Mr. Rafi? Okay. Thank you very much.
Stay safe and stay healthy. Hope to see you soon physically sometime in the future. Have a good day.
I mean, have a nice day too, sir. Thank you very much. Okay. To all participants, I hope you're still there. And now, we would like to inform you that the Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Pasundan has international class program, in which the program has been being held for 3 years. And this is the profile video. Many thanks to all participants who still with us. And finally, is main agenda, plenary session from all speakers. And this session will be moderated by Dr. Horace Julius, SA. Currently, He is head of Economic Study Program in Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Pasundan. He was born in Jakarta, 8th July 1971. His expertise are managerial economics, economics planning, and econometrics. He has done many research, community services, and some publication in reputable journal. One of the newest research was bridging the effect of the knowledge spillover and innovation performance of textile companies. Evidence from Indonesia. Mr. Horas, with all due respect, the time is yours.
Thank you, Pak Budi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the seminar of Sustainability Business Strategy in the COVID-19 pandemic, present and future, hosted by the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Pasundan. We are very grateful to have the Vice Minister of Finance of Republic Indonesia as a keynote speaker. To discuss about this topic further, we cordially invite 4 speakers who will discuss the topic to share their knowledge and ideas of the business strategies during and after this pandemic crisis. The first speaker is Professor Dr. Nur Azman Ali from University Putra Malaysia. The second speaker comes from Universitas Pasundan, Professor Dr. Jaja Suteja. And the third speaker will be Professor Dr. Sukri Langputeh from Patone University, Thailand. And the fourth speaker is Professor Mehmet Hussein Bilgin from Istanbul Medeniyet University, Turkey. The fourth speaker will discuss about the seminar's main topic from a different point of view. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 hours and 30 minutes to discuss about our topic in this seminar. Each speaker will have 30 minutes to share his idea about the topic. We will have question and answer session for 30 minutes after the speakers convey their papers. For participants, please send your question through the chat menu and we will deliver it to the speakers in a question and answer session. Please do not forget to state your name, institution, and to whom your question is addressed to. Let us continue to the next agenda. I would like to share the details of Professor Nur Azman Ali. Professor Dr. Nur Azman Ali is an academic staff at the Department of Management and Marketing, School of Business and Economics, University Putra Malaysia. He is a Deputy Director for the Center of Quality Assurance, Vice Chancellor Office of University Putra Malaysia. His wide range of educational background covers Doctor of Philosophy from Bradford University, Master of Business Administration from Wolverhampton University, Bachelor in Business Administration from Ohio University, Athens. Professor Dr. Nur Azman Ali is actively involved in various research and consultancy areas, particularly in the applied TQM scope. In 2008, he received the Yoshio Kondo Award for his outstanding research contribution in the field of people, organizational, and cultural perspective in TQM. Professor Nur Azman Ali, the floor is yours. Please, sir.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, Alhamdulillah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. And a very good day to every one of you who are joining this seminar. And I would like to greet our moderator, Dr. Horas. Thank you very much for moderating this session. And also, I would like to greet our fellow speakers, okay, Professor Sukri, Professor Jaja, Professor Mahmed, and also I would like to say thanks to our Dean, Dr. Tang. Thank you very much for inviting me. I think I've been with UNPAS in 2018 before. I was talking about quality in higher education, but Alhamdulillah, I can see that UNPAS and maybe specifically Faculty of Economic and Business has got several quality accreditation, international accreditation. Alhamdulillah, I think it's a very good sign for being higher education institution, collaborating internationally, and also having a international perspective of their activities. And I think we all are very lucky to have our Professor Suhasil is now Vice Minister of Finance to give his to share his information, very what I can say is transparent insight. Transparent insight means I think it is a very good policy of Indonesian government to share all of those information in a very public session like this. Okay, I think it is an honor for us all to see all of those figures, all those policies, all those government decision, budget, and so on. Thank you, and I think congratulations to Indonesian government to allow and to share all of those information in public. I think it is also very important to do that because as we know that as far as this issue is concerned, there are so many issues around everyone, and but there is very few answers, very few explanation, very few information, and I'm sorry to share this. We got a news in Malaysian news yesterday. Even some of those people who does not believe that this COVID-19 is happening, but the reality is that it has affected more than 30 million people, and it has cost life of almost 1 million people. But I was surprised that there are still some people who does not believe in this problem. But Alhamdulillah, so far we have to thank God that in general we have to say that we are still in a good hands. Okay, that's what the best that we can say. And Alhamdulillah as well, everything are not totally out of control. Okay, we can see that there are a lot of things that government can do. There are a lot of things that business still can go on. There are a lot of things that we people and individuals can still move on with our life, even though things are getting more and more difficult. But I believe that life still can go on. That's my brief introduction on my involvement into the conference. And frankly, I wish I can come back to University Pasundan one day later. Okay, because I like to be there, and the hospitality was very, very good. Okay, I have to thank UNPAS again. Okay, let's share. Okay, I think I will not take much time. I think most of things have been shared with our Vice Minister just now. I think I want to focus on the key point that I want to share, and hopefully it is something useful, applicable, and something that open more insights on what is the reality that we are facing in not only in academic perspective, but as an individual and also as an economic player of our country. Okay, no matter where we are from, either Indonesia, Malaysia, or all over the world, I think this problem is a universal problem. Universal means this problem is affecting the whole world. Okay, whether it is a big country, small country, rich country, poor country, and whatever, the industrialized country of agriculture country, I think the serious nature of COVID-19 is just widespread, and that's why it is called pandemic. Pandemic means it is a widespread and universal. And somehow or other, whether we are prepared or not, we have to face it. And especially on my topic today. Okay, can we share slide now? Can we share slide now? Okay, good. As far as my topic is concerned, I want to share with everyone on the one concept called VUCA. VUCA, V-U-C-A. Okay, I will talk about VUCA afterwards. And this concept during COVID-19 is getting more and more popular. Okay, and as far as my reference is concerned, as far as what I've been reading, and the concept of VUCA is applicable, relevant, and it can be useful in some perspective. Okay, either as individual, businesses, or the government itself. Okay, my specific topic is VUCA approach in risk assessment. Okay, there are three main things that I will cover in my topic. Number one, the VUCA itself, VUCA approach, VUCA concept, VUCA understanding, and so on. Number two is on the aspect of risk assessment or risk management. And number three, I will cover into business continuity, because thank you very much for inviting me, and I try to share something that is very, very relevant to business sustainability concept in strategy and relevant to the issue of COVID-19. And and I'm not the best. I'm not the best. It is affecting us. It has affect our business activities as business individual, and also it has been affecting our economic. So somehow or other, when we talk about international or multi, it is very much as well. This COVID-19 has affected us when we talk about supply chain. Okay, all can we go back, please? Can we go back, please? Sorry. Okay. When we talk about businesses, we cannot run away from supply chain. Okay, every business activities are interconnected, either local or internationally. So when we talk about how much COVID-19 is affecting us, when supply chain are affected, certainly business are directly affected as well. Okay, can we imagine that we cannot produce product when our supplies are not be able to reach us at the right place at the right time, and so on. Number two, it is affecting financial market. Okay, our Vice Minister just now has been sharing a lot about financial situation of Indonesia, and countries. Okay, in the and number three, it is affecting the people as a labor force, as an employee, as who are very much involved in the productivity of the country. And number three is certainly, and number four, it is affecting the demand of the market. Certainly very much reduced, very much affected. So the concept of VUCA consists of four main concepts behind it: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. What does volatility in VUCA means? The root word is something that is that involve rapid change, a lot of changes, fluctuation. Okay, and there are things that keep on changing from time to time. I think as far as information is concerned, as far as data is concerned, this situation is very relevant when we want to talk about COVID-19 issues. U is for uncertainty. Be sure of in the future, for the future. Something in the future that is not certain. Okay, so there are a lot of things that is not certain when we talk about COVID-19. Okay, because of information issues and so on. Okay, and when we talk about future, it is about prediction. Okay, certainly when things are uncertain, it is very difficult for us to make prediction. Like what our Vice Minister was saying just now, there are so many, there are so much different prediction by different entities as far as economic and business activities is concerned. I think there are figures coming from OECD, from Bloomberg, from IMF, from World Bank, from ADB, and they are not all the same. Why they are not all the same? Because we cannot come up with a common prediction. Tools or method that same result. And complexity, okay, issue of complexity is because of varieties or so many information that there are complex. There are so many perspectives, there are so many areas to cover. Yes, and lastly is about ambiguity. Ambiguity is something that is blurred, something that is not clear, something that is not valid, or we cannot valid something that is some or other we don't know from which source. And this is also the relevant issues behind COVID-19, because as I said just now, when we browse on internet, when we try to Google, there are so many source of information that are talking about COVID-19, but the main thing is how much we are sure about that the information are correct or not. So VUCA as a whole, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, is about the information that we are gathering, that we are getting, that we can deal with, okay, but the nature are so much different and dynamic, and some or other it will affect. Why information are important? These information are very important for us to come up with a strategic decision. Okay, let's move on to another slide. I'll try to organize the. I've tried to organize the idea behind how we should understand VUCA as far as information management is concerned. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, this is an example of data that come in. In Malaysia, we are very much referring to outbreak.my. Outbreak.my. This information somehow or other is produced by Ministry of Health. Okay, Ministry of Health has a great control behind data and information about COVID-19 in Malaysia. And it is not only about Malaysia, but it also produce data from all over the world, every countries. And I believe their source of data is from WHO, World Health Organization. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is what I said just now. I tried to organize those definition of VUCA into three main perspectives. Definitive perspective means how to define VUCA in three different perspectives. Number one is about the volume of the data. Number two, about how consistent is the data. Number three is how much we can predict those information. How can use those information for the purpose of prediction. When we talk about volatility, the volume somehow is high, but the consistency is low. As I said just now, volatile information, volatility situation is rapid change. Okay, so many data, the data that we are collecting have a lot of fluctuation, changes and so on. That's why the consistency is low, and it will affect the way we can predict. So the effect on prediction is medium, not high. High means we can predict, low means we cannot predict at all. But somehow or other, because we have the data, we can try to predict. So in terms of information management, how we should deal with those information, we need to establish strong prediction tool. So good that we can have the data. Okay, we have information about COVID-19 and so on. Good that we have information about the economic situation. Good that we have information about the market. But having a strong prediction, strong human sound, a good prediction tool, we can improve our prediction. So in terms of uncertainty, the volume is low. Why make it uncertain because the volume of data is low. Not easy for us to get the trend. Because of low volume, it will affect the consistency, and the consistency is low. And certainly because of low volume and low consistency, and it will affect the prediction ability. So how we have to deal with this kind of data? We have to gather as much data as possible so that we can draw a pattern. To predict something what might happen. So as far as strategic is concerned, strategic business decision is concerned, what is our decision should be based on how we can predict the situation in the future. Number 3 on complexity issues is how can we define situation under complexity is even though we can it is about many information that we gather, but somehow or other it comes from so many sources, and it is about a lot of information that is not organized. Somehow or other the consistency can be high because of the volume is high, but in terms of predictability is medium or not very high because it is not well organized. So how can we deal with this kind of complex information? Number 1, we have to screen those information. Make sure only valid information that we are going to use. Number 2, we have to organize those data so that it can bring better meaning and more meaning before we can apply them to develop prediction model based on certain concept. So the advantage of complex situation is we have the volume of data, but what we have to do is to organize those data, sort those data, categorize those data, and apply them accordingly. The issue behind ambiguity, if even though we have high volume of data, but it may not be consistent because of vagueness, because of the information are not clear, the source of information are not reliable, for example, and certainly because of low consistency and we have reliability issues, so certainly it is not very good to be used for prediction. What we have to do is to clarify and validate those data before we can do any prediction. So all of this VUCA background, VUCA definition perspective is very relevant as far as COVID-19 situation is concerned, and when we talk about strategic decision. And this is also again another form of data or information that we are gathering. I think this data is about 2 days ago, 31 million affected and nearly 1 million lives has been affected by COVID-19. Okay, I think our Vice Minister has come up with much more detailed data. Okay, but when we go to that website, certainly we can see more. And coronavirus, COVID-19 and VUCA, as I said just now, because of current situation now it is continuous to change. Okay, that's why we have problem behind volatility. There is no consistency still yet. Okay, and it is affecting all places, and it's happening. It is changing every day, and the situation are getting bad, and sometimes to define the situation also not easy. To define means what does 200,000 people affected mean? What does, for example, 5,000 people's life are affected? Sometimes people think that it is not that serious, but only those people who are affected can really understand how much that this COVID-19 is affecting us. Uncertainty, because the effect of uncertainty, because no one can make a very good prediction, and even we are not sure when this pandemic are going to end. That's the main thing that is uncertain. And the extent of damages, as I said just now, in terms of life, we can count lives. In terms of patient that is affected, we can count affected. But we talk about economic, business, and so on. The extent of damages are so wide and so depending on what business, what sector, and so on. Okay. In terms of complexity, it is so complex because it involves health issues. Okay. It is involve every aspect of life. The old people affected, the young people affected, even the small kids also are not escaped from these COVID-19 issues. Business situation are complex. As I said just now, different sectors are affected differently. Okay, and the economic and social life also very much affected. And we talk about social distancing. It is about something like about antisocial. Okay, we talk about people. The only way that you can be antisocial is during COVID-19, when we have to socially distance ourselves from people. We cannot shake hands and so on. But that is because of the situation is very dangerous. In terms of ambiguity, why it is relevant? Because there is no best practice, there is no best solution, there is no best model. People try to look at China, for example. It is not a good model. People try to look at China because why? Because they are the first country who are affected. People try to look at even Malaysia at one time as one of the best model to handle COVID-19. But yet, in terms of economic situation, Malaysia may be not the best model. People try to look at, so far I think the best model is New Zealand, I think. But still, they also, the Prime Minister of New Zealand also cannot claim that they have, that she has successfully managed the issue of COVID-19 successfully. Worst situation, America. Worst situation, India. Worst situation, South America. So there is no best practice in handling this problem. So that's why it is still ambiguous, still vague, and even WHO cannot mention any particular country as a best model. Once, I think about 2 months ago, WHO was mentioning about Malaysia in terms of the way we handle COVID-19 situation. But we talk about economic, we relate that to economic situation. Still, the situation are not certain yet. Next slide, please. Okay, in terms of coronavirus effect, this is Malaysian figures, Malaysian data. The study made by Ernst & Young. Ernst & Young is a business management consultancy. As we have seen the figures shown by our Vice Minister just now, certainly it is affecting the financial situation, it is affecting the customer market, it is affecting the technology situation, how much technology available and being applicable. In terms of supply chain business that involves supply activities, in terms of people, okay, people as individual, as household, and people as labor force, it is very much affected by COVID-19. So this is how to, one of the model to look at how COVID-19 is affecting a business within a particular country. I think Indonesia also referring to this, referring to some of this perspective. Next slide, please.
Excuse me, Professor Nur Azman.
Yes, yes.
We have to remind you that you have 5 minutes left.
5 minutes, okay. Don't worry.
Thank you.
I want to, okay, now I'm going to go to the second part of my presentation is about how to relate the situation to risk management. How to relate the situation of COVID-19 and VUCA concept to risk management. Risk management is getting more and more common attention in business. For example, we talk about quality management. For example, ISO, under ISO criteria, we must do risk management, risk evaluation, or else we cannot get ISO certificate. In terms of strategic management, when we want to justify our strategic decision, we are subjected to risk evaluation as well. Okay, and there are two main perspectives of risk management. One is on frequency of potential happening of the risk, and second perspective is about how much damages or how much hazard that the situation are going to affect. So I'm going to focus on the second part, on the effect of the issues. In this case, the effect of COVID-19 to business. Okay, as we have said just now, it will affect financial aspect, market stability, operation glitches, operation are going to affect it some or other because of supply chain, and also is going to jeopardize employees' position. Some employees are losing job, some employees would take salary cut, some even some employees would take unpaid leave and so on. Okay. So can we move on? I think we can. All of these things are in my article. I just want to go to how we evaluate the impact of COVID-19. Next slide, please. Okay, the degree of business impact severity. How severe does COVID-19 can affect businesses? Okay. So in terms of the element, we try to look on the people aspect, financial, operation, human resource, and business survival, and how much it can affect. It can affect from low to high to climate, or into what I can classify as ultimate or the final effect. For example, in terms of people, in terms of individual, it will cause stress. Because of economic situation and so on. Even when the government want to implement MCO, movement control order, I think Indonesia they use different term. People cannot go outside without any good reason. That has caused stress already. And the extreme effect or the ultimate effect is life. Okay, terminal means it will affect life at the end of the day, okay, because so many lives has been affected because of COVID-19. Okay, in terms of financial, it can cause financial decline in sales, but the ultimate cost is bankruptcy. In terms of operation, it is how it can affect. It can be as low as a drop in the production, but ultimately it can cause a factory to close down. In terms of human resource, we can ask staff to take leave, even though with pay or without pay. Okay, and the extreme case or ultimate effect is people can has just to accept loss of job and kind of things. But I think what it is very relevant to our seminar is about business survival. Okay, business survival. So in terms of business survival, a minimum risk that will affect is the performance of the business. We talk about financial whatever performance, and ultimately some business has to close down. Okay, just cannot survive in facing the impact of COVID-19 itself. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, those are the evaluation of what risk that we are facing when we want to talk about. I think either the government or the businesses can refer to this kind of situation to understand at what extent of business impact that they are being affected by COVID-19. Okay, certainly different organizations are being affected differently, different sectors are differently, different countries are differently affected by COVID-19 itself. Okay, next slide, please. So these are strategic assessment process. I think it is a very standard and very procedure how we should deal with the information that we have in hand and how to evaluate the extent of risk that we are facing. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, I don't want to go into very detail to all of these 7 steps, but generally it starts from data collection, refining or screening those information, and develop strategic risk profile, and finally making strategic risk management decision and risk management implementation itself. Next slide, please. So this is also another model, another strategic approach from data collection, crafting strategy, and strategic implementation. But I think the fundamental thing about this slide is about how are we going to deal with the situation. So we have to brainstorm. Brainstorm means we have to gather as much information as possible. We have to do road mapping. We have to figure out how we should be progressing from time to time. We can do scenario. We have to figure out what are the whatever possibilities that might be happening post-COVID and so on. In terms of the relevance of the tools, we have to apply what are the appropriate tools, and so on. Stakeholder mapping is about understanding how does this situation are affecting different stakeholders. And backlog, certainly there are so many things that we cannot do. We have to put on hold, and we have to review and revise in our capability, resources, and so on. Next slide, please. I'm going to do a little bit fast because I think some of these things have been said by our Vice Minister just now. What the best government can do, why information about government action is very important, because these are one of the key external factors now. Businesses are very much relying on government in this situation. Okay, what government, I think the Indonesian government has done a very good job as what being shared in terms of relief of obligation, okay, to ease the business problem, technology solution, because everything has to be very effective and efficient, business transformation, government involvement, to make sure that business has to change the way they are doing things, and clarity about new normal. Okay, I think one of the reasons why Indonesian government are very transparent, because they want they want people to accept the new normal. Things are not going to be like before. Okay, so good. What we have heard from the Vice Minister just now. Next slide, please. I think my last slide. Okay, stages. This is also a very good guide on term of risk management approach. Number one is the reaction. We have to do something. We just cannot wait and see. Time for wait and see is over already. First 3 months, we can say we can wait and see what is going to happen as far as COVID-19. But now is to take action. We just cannot wait and see. It's after more than 8 months already. We have to take action. Certainly, a lot of things that can be done. Okay, we just cannot. We have to put priorities. Okay, what need to be done first and what's next. Okay, we cannot do everything because of limited resources and the situation are very uncertain. And then we have to find ways how to recover. To make sure that we can come back, to make sure that we can sustain, to make sure that we can continue to survive. And inshallah, one day we will reach the level of resolution, means that we can get settled down. Yesterday, there was one report from IATA. IATA is the body that is governing the tourism. Activities. They said the earliest thing are going to get normal is 2024. Can we imagine? It's not about next 2 years, but it's going to be next 4 years. Things will be like 2019 before. Okay, so that's we hope that we can reach that situation as soon as possible. So as a conclusion, last slide please. As a conclusion, what I can say is VUCA is a tool to gather information and to understand information and how to apply information. The involvement of a group of people, stakeholders, is somehow are going to be useful so that we can gather as much information as possible, but make sure it is reliable and valid before we can use them to make a decision. If effective use of VUCA can help us to make good prediction, to make us be able to make a good strategic decision. And as far as risk is concerned, we need to find ways how to mitigate or how to control the risk somehow, or other things happen already. The main thing is how to react or to respond. Either we have to treat the risk, we have to transfer the risk, we have to trim the risk, or we have to terminate the risk. There is a 4 main approach of risk mitigation. And as far as our strategic decision to make sure that we can survive in facing COVID-19 issues is to ensure that we can continue, stay in business, and we can some or other help every individuals in our country and also help the government to recover as soon as possible from the problem of COVID-19. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I've shared some good, useful information to everyone. And thank you again. Back to you, Dr. Horace.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Azmali, for sharing with us very interesting topic, VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Dear participant, you can download these papers from that have delivered from the speakers because we already sent it to the chat menu. Okay. The audience, moving right along after Professor Nur Azman Ali discussed risk assessment for business continuity in relation to COVID-19 issues, Professor Jaja Suteja will discuss what should fintech startup do in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Before Professor Jaja Suteja start his presentation, let me inform you more information about him. Professor Jaja Suteja educational background covers Doctors of Philosophy from Pajajaran University, Master of Science from Gadjah Mada University, and Bachelor in Management from Pasundan University. He interested in finance research area, and he has published in many reputable journals. He also receives research funding from the government of Indonesia. He is now serves as a Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Universitas Pasundan. Would you please join me in welcoming Professor Jaja Suteja? Please, Professor.
Okay. Can you hear me, Mr. Horace?
Yes, very clearly, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning,
Waalaikumsalam.
everybody. Thank you for the opportunity given by the moderator for this event, Dr. Horace Julius. Firstly, I would like to deliver my appreciation to the Dean of Economic and Business Faculty, Universitas Pasundan, Dr. Atang Hermawan, and the respected all the audience. Allow me to present my article entitled Coping Strategies Adopted by Fintech Startup Dealing with the COVID-19 Pandemic, Case of Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know that the startup is term that refers to all companies that have been operating recently. The companies are mostly newly established companies that are in the development and the research phase of finding a more appropriate market. With the support of very large population of 272 million people, where the Indonesia organizations, I'm sorry, I will share my PowerPoint. Okay, as we know that startup is the refer to all companies that have been operating recently. These companies are mostly were established company that are in the development and research phase of finding more appropriate market. So with the support of the large population, so I have said just now, about 272 millions people were Indonesia urbanization ratio of penetrating about 45% has growth tremendous market potential, including a marketplace supported by significant internet usage penetration rate, about 64%, or about 175.4 million people. So this has significant implication for our startup. It is grows like mushroom in the rainy season. So it is not surprising that Indonesia has a number of startup of 2,000 to 117 and is the top five of global startup and dominated by financial technology player. Ladies and gentlemen, quoting the Indonesia and the global digital data released by We Are Social 2020, it is not surprising that the development of financial technology in Indonesia is amazing, especially because of the enormous market potential. A survey conducted in the ASEAN region from 2015 to 2019 shows that Indonesia is the country that has the fastest and the more extensive growth in the term of the startup, especially for financial startup. Thanks to the support of the Palapa Ring project, with the coverage of 36,000 kilometers of the optical fiber development, and also people who spend average of 8 hours each day on the internet. There are an extraordinary determinant of the development of the fintech startup industry in Indonesia. Moreover, the number of people who do not have a bank account is quite large at 52%. And so the index continues to increase in terms of financial literacy and inclusions. Ladies and gentlemen, refer to the data from Financial Services Authority, or OJK. It shows that the financial technology ecosystem in Indonesia is grouped into 9 groups. I will take some research conducted by Microsoft consultant shows that the percentage of fintech distribution in Indonesia is controlled by peer-to-peer lending as of April 2020, which able to distributed loan 7 billion US dollar, followed by fintech payment, but with the 330 million e-money instrument. Then the smallest equity crowdfunding group that it's only able to pay credit 5 million US dollar in crowdsourcing as of March 2020. I get the data from Bank Indonesia and OJK.
It's 10 hours.
Ladies and gentlemen, pandemic of corona began in early 2020 with its epicenter in Wuhan City, China. Through globalization and transportation connectivity, the coronavirus outbreak is like the earthquake that trigger like the tsunami. The waves quickly spread to various parts of the world, including Indonesia. So we still remember when the March 3rd, 2020 was the beginning of the COVID-19 disaster in Indonesia. So we'll remember this the great momentum where the Indonesia government officially announced that 2 of its citizens had tested positive for the coronavirus. Suddenly, the response from the business economy community shows a shock, especially after World Health Organization officially stated that the coronavirus was designated as the global pandemic with the official name COVID-19, which until now, the antivirus has not been found. So the data shows that suspicion in Indonesia has reached around the 250,000 citizens of Indonesia, and around the world has reached 30 million citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, however, the outbreak of the COVID COVID-19 pandemic, with the extraordinary transmission of the virus, has caused all the progress made by Indonesia financial technology startup to be like dust being swept away. Although some have been able to turn this challenge into opportunities, meaning there are a number of startup players fintech growth to drive an increase in market and transaction volume. So I will send some research. The survey research showed the during the COVID-19 period, financial technology targeting their market share into the micro, small, and the medium enterprise segment experience in increase in bad credit. So we can find that non-performing loan increased between 10% to 15%. Equity crowdfunding platform had decreased between 40 to 50% in the number of the new investors. Overall, fintech startup generally have between 5 to 6 months to stay operating until the money is exhausted. So in the financial technology industry, it's called as the runway or the landscape. Therefore, there are at least 7 serious impacts that must be watched out for regarding the COVID-19 outbreak on the fintech industry in Indonesia. They are organizational culture, a business model, customer retention and onboarding, partnership, runway, change the transmission mix, and the last coping strategies. Furthermore, how the strategic mechanism to overcome the impact of the outbreak on fintech companies so they can survive. Several things that to be considered as the solutions. For the fintech lending players, I think it's very rational when they take efficiency measure by cutting operating costs, even downsizing. It is very possible if they also reduce late payment fee or charge, for example, for 6 to 3% per month. So they are able to provide flexibility to carry out their action plans. And for small peer-to-peer players, they can transfer their business activities for their action plans for other productivity loans, such as for fishing, agriculture, and other fields. And then increase internal capacity or ramp up internal capacity. Increase internal capacity, I think, as GoFay did, which played to add more operation staff to help implement the government to public program. So it's one of the chosen from the, how to ramp up internal capacity. And then trying to support digital services. Trying to support digital services such as those carried out by fintech payment, like fintech player Dana, so which will provide special training for offline retailer on digital marketing, on branding, packaging, and use of social media. For fintech insurance insurance tax player, I think it's very important was conducted by InsurTax, like conducted by Pasapolis. Pasapolis, the one of the player of the InsurTax. It proposed an idea regarding a temporary installment product for micro insurance product, insurance premiums, and all the product deal with the COVID-19. Meanwhile, I think enabler fintech player for fintech player such as that conducted by VVID, VVID offer price consensus with the providing a free digital signature service partner company and the user. So I think there are some conclusion is very important to note to overcome our problem about the impact of COVID-19 to fintech industry in Indonesia. At the first, even though the current situation facing Indonesia startup ecosystem look bleak, pushing the potential of fintechs as a complement or to traditional banking, I think is our best hope for recovering its momentum. And the second, fintech are more agile and adaptive than traditional banks, which still rely on a legacy technology of its core system. And the third, as the conclusion, fintech will adopt automatization and digitalization of banking process in much more agile manner and provide relevant use cases for bank to lever these strengths. And the last, I think it's very important, dedicated support from the government and more enabling regulation for this business can boost the economy and retain Indonesia position as top destination for startup in the ASEAN regions. So there are some recommendation. I have two recommendation at the first for the government as the policy maker, and the second for the fintech player. Today, what necessity has become the mother of disruption, and stakeholder must support young business in the process. Here, recommend the following measure for the fintech in startup ecosystem. So, for the government can should the main catalyst. The government can should the catalyst for the survival and the growth of the fintech startup or the Indonesian industry. In the same time, I think the government of the Indonesia has no specific regulations or measure to support fintech. I think fintech with the different size of the firm support fintech a big, a small, or a newcomer, other established fintech player. Instead, it is offering a general package of assistance for small and medium sized enterprise, and fintechs are expected to accommodate themselves to it that this package does not rely address the needs of technology enabled startup. And I think for the fintech players, there are two recommendations. So ignoring startup fintech in Indonesia would undermine their potential to solve existing problem to scalable solution. A scalable solution is I think it is existing problem up to here. This would be a big mistake given that startup poised to chart the business landscape in the country. And the following measure recommended for fintech, the startup ecosystem, which can track the Indonesia economic recovery from the pandemics. At the first, fintech startup should be strong use case and work with the established player, major among fintech startup that provide complementary solutions or support can also be a way forward. Eventually, I think the MIC needs to see strong value propositions. So it is time to focus on profitability rather than scalability. This approach will build business resilience and attract investor even during this bearish time. Thank you very much, Mr. Horas. Finish, Mr. Horas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Jaja Suteja. Very interesting topic. He stated what are the coping strategies adopted that might be adopted by the fintech startup, which is right now dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you, Professor. Now, noble audience, please enjoy your coffee, your tea during this seminar, because we have two more distinguished speakers that will present their papers. Now, we have a very special guest from Fatoni University, Thailand, to discuss the topic further. It is now a pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Sukri Lampute. Professor Dr. Sukri Lampute is a Deputy Rector for International Relations and Alumni, Fatoni University, Thailand. His educational background covers PhD in International Relations, Jinan University, Guangzhou, People's Republic of China, Bachelor of Human Sciences in Political Science, International Islamic University, Malaysia, Bachelor in Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Heritage, International Islamic University, Malaysia. His administrative experiences covers a member of Yala Rajabat University's Council, Vice President of Southern Thailand Political Science and Public Administration Association, Standing Committee for House of Senate in Education, and Standing Committee for House of Parliament on Islamic Affairs. His academic experiences involves visiting scholars at International Public and Management Administration Malaya University and visiting professor at Southeast Asian Institute and Academy of Overseas Chinese Studies. He earned many awards, comprises one of 100 most influential Muslims in the world 2009 by the Prince Al-Walid bin Talal Center for Muslim and Christian Understanding, Georgetown University. Would you please welcome Professor Sukri Lampute? Please, Professor.
Do you hear me? Please unmute me. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, our brother moderator. And before that, let me thank the UNPAS for inviting me again through online program this time after 3 to 4 years of attending programs in UNPAS. And thank Pak Dekan, Dr. Atang, for connecting, even though we are now in the the era of pandemic. Greeting from Patani, greeting from Thailand, and you are most welcome to our country again. Alhamdulillah, Thailand is now getting better, and we are teaching students in classes. We are no more, teaching from home, but we are teaching in classes, and things going well. And hopefully, this will happen to Malaysia and Indonesia and some other countries as well, inshallah, in the future. Well, within 20 minutes of time given, I would like to say something that when we are talking about the sustainability of business strategy during COVID or pandemic that happened today, I think when we are listening, when we listen to the Vice Minister this morning as a keynote speaker, I think it's enough. to see, not only the concept but also the practical aspects that he has been Professor Vice Minister has mentioned, and also has given us very wide picture of how things go. And at the same time, when we listen to two speakers from Malaysia and also from Indonesia just now, I think we have seen what happens and practically. And when it comes to me, before going to Turkey, I would like to say that my 20 minutes or 25 minutes will be more of a conceptual discussion. So my presentation will be more of a conceptual presentation, and I'll try to propose my strategy, the holistic strategy, on which I call it SUN strategy, which comprises of S, O, and N. Please go to my presentation, please, my PowerPoint. Can you go to my presentation? And I posted in the chat room for presentation, so the audience or participant can just go directly and you can open it in your okay. In fact, I use different font. The writing fonts to show that, okay, we ourselves writing the strategy while we are now living in the COVID-19 era. Next, please. When I say SUN, it comprises of 3 letters. Okay, let me say Bismillah Rahman Rahim first. You say Bismillah even before COVID, after COVID, or even now we are living in the COVID-19. Whatever things we are doing, we do with Bismillah. And inshallah, I think there will be hikmah. We can go through all this kind of thing. Okay, next, please. Okay. In fact, there are 4 languages here that I would like to greet you in Arabic. First is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Arabic greeting, Islamic and Arabic greetings. And in Thai language, let me mention at least, one sentence of the greeting in Islam, Khor Kwam Santi Chung Mi De Tan. So at least, you can listen to my Thai words, Khor Kwam Santi Chung Mi De Tan. So all the audience will confirm that, okay, you have international speaker comes to your conference. Wow. Now we come to the SUN strategy. What do I mean by SUN strategy is that the strategy that involves 3 levels or 3 things. And I believe that both 2 speakers, including the keynote speakers, have mentioned a lot of things, and many of those are categorized, to my understanding, into self or individual strategy, or sometimes it goes to organizational strategy, and finally it is networking strategy. So I try to understand from my own view, from my own standpoint, that in order to cope up with the pandemic today, we have to not only letting others to do something on their own for us. At the same time, we cannot just do whatever we have to do while others are not doing. And while others are doing personally, individually, but not thinking in groups, not thinking in organization, and not creating new networking. Yes, next, please. So in this case, when we are talking about self-strategy, I would like to underline here when I'm talking about 3 H: H hate, H hand, and H heart. So even though when I put hate first, hand, and heart, but when I try to talk to you, I will try to use the last one first, the heart. Well, we are disturbed by COVID-19, and we are disturbed by the impacts of COVID-19 in financial crisis that the keynote speakers and speakers before me has mentioned, psychological disturbance. Then we do sometimes have to motivate ourselves. We have to motivate our partners, have to motivate our boss even. So in this case, I think the strategy of heart, the strategy of motivational strategy is very important. I will discuss after this. Then second hand, which I mean skills. No. Yes, skill or professional strategy. Why I said this? Because when the shortcomings come, when the challenges come during the COVID-19 or the pandemic that we have mentioned, we need a new skills of communication, new skills of talking to people, new skills of writing, new skills of talking to people. I used to teach in class, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I will give a speech to conferences overseas by sitting in my own office, and then the audience or the participants will be in Europe or in Africa. But now these things happen like just ordinary lifestyles, and I believe I'm not sure about Malaysia, Indonesia, or even Turkey, but in Thailand, a lot of lecturers or even teachers in schools are not familiar. No. Don't go to that place. Ya, belum habis lagi. When we're talking about skills, we need a new skills to to face all those kind of shortcomings or challenges that comes with COVID-19, and this should be developed into professional strategy. And before this, when I go to Indonesia, a lot of people are talking about IR 4.0. A lot of conferences I attended in Indonesia are mostly talking about IR 4.0, 4.0, 4.0. But when it comes to reality, it is very difficult for us to go to 4.0 by not using technology, by not using or by not upskilling ourselves. But when COVID-19 comes, I found that whatever things discussed before in Indonesia, in UNPAS, in any other universities, now you yourself have to change your lifestyle, have to change your technological using of all those kind of things. But by all means, the strategy, the very important strategy for self-development strategy is with the coming of COVID-19 or the pandemic, our new knowledge comes. There are a lot of new knowledge produced during these few months. The last month I saw a lot of new books, talking or written about how to teach during COVID-19, how to learn how to be good learners, how to be good teachers, how to be good parents, making things comfort to your kid, to your student to study. So it means that now we are coming up with new knowledge. It means that our head should be developed, thoroughly when the pandemic comes. So when our heads or even the new knowledge that has been established in our community, so it means that we need our new skills in order to bring new knowledge to the community, bring new knowledge to our students. But by all means, even though you have very good knowledge, very good head, and then you have very good skills of presenting your ideas, bringing your thought to the practical levels, but you must have your heart. You must be sure that you can go on with this kind of challenges that are given by God. Okay, next please. This is sales strategy that I'd like to say that when we are talking about what we have to do from ourselves, we have to start from ourselves, having more knowledge, and then after having knowledge, we need more skills. When we have more skills, by all means, we have to be sure, we have to be ready to face all these challenges. Well, now it comes to organization. The strategy for the organization, in order to face all those kind of challenges that comes, this year, I would like to say that I have two models. I have two models for us to change our organization during this pandemic era. The first is we are always please press. We are always talking about the management style which I call it a pyramid or pyramidic strategy, a pyramidic model. It is in fact to be written like a pyramidic model. When I say pyramidic model, is that when we are organizing any unit of people, normally, we have only one boss or we have only one hero. While, when we are looking at, the foundations of that organizations or the unit of that organizations, sometimes it is being strong because of many people. It is being excellent because of a lot of people are working for that. But when it comes to the end of the story, when somebody was called to receive a reward or whatever, we always have one hero. We always have one boss. This is I don't know in Malaysia and Indonesia, but in Thailand normally those who are working so hard, they are not brought up into the podium or the stage, but only the boss has been called for that. But when the pandemic comes, when COVID-19 comes, we cannot manage our organizations like that. So the strategy of managing our organization should be changed as well. Presently, in my university, the rector himself used to do everything, but when it comes to this kind of challenges during COVID-19, all the vice rector has to has we have to bring up all the job, all the tasks of the rector, and we divide into, you have to do this, and the vice rector Sabtu has to do this, vice rector Dua has to do this, vice rector Tiga has to do this, and to be active in that. So now we are trying to let people know that we are talking, when you are talking about Patani University, don't only mention the rector, don't only mention the big boss of the organization, but we should promote, all the vice rectors, all the deans, all the head departments, or even all the student body to be known to the public, because now we have a technology to help us. We have Zoom conference, we have Google Meet conference, whatever. So with that, we will have a new type of organization by using, I call it Kaabah model. This is Kaabah model strategy. You see Kaabah, you see Baitullah, you can see all the poles of Kaabah is seen, and at the top of the top on top of the pole, the Kaaba is still in that shape. So you from long distance or from short distance, you can see all the poles of the Kaaba can be seen by everyone. So this is the organizations that we need during this pandemic, because sometimes it is too hard for one boss to, to bear all the tasks all the time. But when we have this kind of thing, at least we will have new people, especially young generations who are capable with all those kind of technological excellence to come to our organizations, and they can bear all the big tasks that we have to bear. And we sometimes, old people cannot learn that fast as compared to young or younger people who can learn faster in terms of technology. Next, please. The last one. The last one is something about networking. I would like to mention here. Okay, next slide, please. Next, please. Okay, this is my my last slide, in fact, because I think we will have more time for discussions of the Malaysian, Indonesian, and Turkey experiences after this. So I would like to say that when the pandemic comes, when COVID-19's outbreak in Wuhan and comes to some other part of the world, today everyone is talking about 30 million. Everyone is talking about 30M. I think when we want to cope up with this problem, it is not anymore the issue of Jakarta, the issue of Bandung, where UNPAS is, the issue of Patani, where Fatani University is. And it is not even the issue of Indonesia, the issue of Malaysia, the issue of Thailand, the issue of Japan, the issue of Korea. But I think there are three people who are involved in new networking. And I would like to appreciate UNPAS, especially the Faculty of Economy Business, for conducting this program. And this and during the opening, I heard that you have brought, friends, academic friends from Japan, from Korea, from Thailand, Malaysia, and also from Turkey. So this is very important because we need different experiences in coping up with this kind of problem. Because the world has become global village and the world has become local rather than global. Now I think and I believe that a lot of us really realize that the world becomes not only global. Sometimes when you become global, you forget your own locality, you forget your own base. But now you are based in your own room, you are based in your own office, you are based in your own university, but you can connect to the globe. So that's why I mentioned local. We are very local now. I'm now, for your information, I'm now sitting in the coffee shop because today is my university is closed and I don't go to university. Now I'm in one cafe in Jala province where I choose one of the corner of the cafe, and now I'm connecting to the globe. I'm very local now. The- My at present now I'm very local in Jala, with small coffee shop sitting in very corner of the cafe, but I'm connecting to the world. When I look at the participants, 219 participants are connecting to me, and I'm connecting to them. Can you imagine how many countries are joining this conference? So I would like to come to conclusion for this networking strategy that we now face or we now work with people of four kinds. The first is inside insiders. The inside insiders are very important. The Indonesian who are living in Indonesia, Bandung who are living in Bandung, Jakarta who are living in Jakarta. The strategy of how to work together among the people who are living inside, or all the insiders, is very important for all of us to think about how to raise up our new business strategy. When I come closer, I come nearer to the word business strategy. Sometimes the way that we are selling things to people who are insiders, who are living inside our society, are much more difficult as compared to now. I can sell my goods or my products to Malaysia, to Indonesia through online marketing much easier or much faster than selling to my people in my own area, because sometimes because of the blockage, because of shutdown, I cannot move there and here. But at the same time, I can just go to post office, I can just go to JNT, I can just go to the all kind of logistic services, and I can just send it to Bangkok within half day. But when I want to sell things in my own area, it takes 1 or 2 days. So this is the insiders have to be developed and has to find out what is the best way to communicate and to connect with the people among insiders. The second group is the second group is very important. When we are trying to get the new strategy of connecting people, for example, Indonesian customer, no, Indonesian businessmen who want to do business with Korea, Indonesian businessmen who want to do business with Taiwan, Indonesian businessmen who want to do business with Thailand. I would like to mention here that you can think of starting doing business with Indonesian who are living in that country, which is easier. For example, there are a lot of Indonesian students studying in Bangkok. There are a lot of outstanding Indonesian scholarship recipients of Indonesian government studying in Mahidol University, studying in my university, studying in Chulalongkorn University. They can be your strategic partner of your own business. It is easier than you, Indonesian, trying to get friends who are Thais. You have to speak English. At the same time, you have to convince them to know the product of Indonesia. But Indonesian people who are living in Bangkok, they know the products in Indonesia quite well, and they know the customers in Bangkok quite well because they live there. They know the motive of the customers in Bangkok. At the same time, Indonesians who are living in Korea, Indonesians who are living in Taiwan, I was in Taiwan. I was surprised when I saw a lot of Indonesians are working in Taiwan and they're doing quite well. They can even taking their zakat or their taxes, giving a scholarship to students studying in Taiwan. So this is what I mean in inside outsiders. Those people who are from inside, but they are living outside. So we can change our strategy by connecting with them first in order to go through that country. And talking about Indonesian in Makkah, talking about Indonesian in Jeddah, mashallah, a lot of people from Java working in Makkah and thinks about the pilgrimage, think about Hajj. I believe that there should be more products from Indonesia going to Makkah rather than products from China. And how many Chinese living in Makkah? How many Chinese living in Saudi Arabia? But we can see a lot of products of China sold in Makkah, in Jeddah, in Medina. While there are a lot of Indonesian workers or Indonesian people living in those areas. So this is what I mean. Inside outsiders will be our next target of building this strategy. The third one, in short, I won't be that long. Outside insiders, those people who are from outside. For example, I myself. Now, Fatoni University is situated in very remote area in the south. You know, we are 1,000 kilometers from Bangkok to Fatoni University. But because of having outsiders, because of having a lot of students from 39 countries, today I have a student coming to study in my university from 39 countries, including Indonesian students. And we have students from Sydney, Australia, from California, from Kazakhstan, from Sweden, and from Africa. So they are outside insiders. Those people from outside living here in our place. So whatever products that our Thai company or Thai factories producing, our students who are now studying with me or studying in Thailand are very good partner of bringing this product back home. Even though now they don't go back, especially these days, they cannot go back during semester break. They cannot fly back home, but they can send, you know, the samples, or even they can send whatever details of the products. And what happened during this COVID-19, a lot of products from my own area, which is very remote area from Bangkok, can be sold to Africa, can be sold to Korea, can be sold to the US as well, because of those students who are coming from outside living in our area. So they can be our ambassadors, they can be our business ambassadors, they can be our contact persons, or whatever strategic name you can put it. Okay, finally, when it comes to networking strategy to face with this kind of pandemic challenges, outsiders, it was so difficult for us. It was so difficult for us to reach people outside. We are living in Thailand. Our Professor Mahmed, who will give a speech after this, we're living in Turkey. If we are doing business, if we want to sell things, it is very difficult for us to fly from one place to another. And it is not easy for us to fly from one place to another as well, to introduce our products. But because of a pandemic challenges that happen, because of IR 4.0, that we use technology, to be a bridge of connecting people there. So outsiders are also the strategic partnership with us. They don't come to Thailand, they don't come to Indonesia, tapi mereka bisa juga menjual barangan kita, produk kita, because they don't have to come to our place, but we can access with details to them until they really understand our product, until they really understand our objectives, our aims, so they can be our strategic partner in our business, inshallah, in the future. So this is my presentation conceptually. I would like to come, next slide please. I would like to come to conclusion that when I say sun strategy, what I mean is that finally, because of the strong self that has been developed through, and then the organizations that comprises of strategic, individual, and personal strengths. So finally, they can build up the Kaaba type of organizations that finally that kind of organization can build the network not only among ourselves, not only among the same group of people, but finally they can reach people inside insiders, inside outsiders, outside insiders, and outside outsiders. Thank you very much to Pasundan, to Unpas for organizing. And finally, I would like to say Khop Kun in Thai language, which means thank you. Terima kasih, Shukran, Selamat po, Sia and Shukriya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Professor. When you presented your paper, especially in slide number 3, there are Arabic letters, Thai letters. That's why I remember when you visited our campus, you use at least 4 languages, right?
Yes.
Arabic, Chinese, Thai, Malay.
Malay.
Very interesting presentation, Professor, especially when you state networking strategy. Thank you. Thank you for the insight, Professor Sukri.
Yep.
Okay. Dear audience, let me remind you that you can send your comments and questions to the speakers by using the chat menu, and we will forward it to the speakers in the question and answer session. Ladies and gentlemen, the next presenter is Professor Mehmet Hussein Begin, who will discuss sustainable economic development in the support of COVID-19 affected industries. So Turkey is 4 hours behind Jakarta, and it is now 6:45 a.m. in Istanbul. And we are very thankful to have Professor Mehmet in our seminar. Before Professor Mehmet conveys paper, let me give you some details about him. Mehmet Hussein Bilgin is a full professor of economics at Istanbul Medeniyet University, Turkey. During his academic career, he has worked in many international institutions, a visiting professor and scholar at Indiana University, Jacksonville University, USA, Zagreb University, Croatia, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, and National Research University, Higher School of Economics, Russia. He has taken active roles in many leading academic journals. Among others, he is the subject editor at the Journal of International Financial Market Institution and Money, and also Eurasian Economic Review. He has published in many reputable journals, including Economic Letters, the World Economy, Journal of International Financial Markets, and many other journals. His research fields are microeconomics, international economics, and international finance. Now, I would like to invite Professor Mehmet Hussein Begin to present his paper. Please, Professor.
Thank you, Horace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So actually, I have been a few times in Indonesia. One times in Solo, Sabala Smarت University, and once I think, as I remember, in Sriwijaya University, and a few times in Jakarta and in Bali. So I know I can speak actually some words like Indonesia Raya Raya from your national march, and also like Terima Kasih, and also some other words. I thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting this great international work seminar during these hard days, hard times. I think that's very important seminar, and thank you for inviting me. It is my pleasure to join your seminar. I like Indonesia. Actually, the Turkey likes Indonesia. We all likes Indonesian people, all Asian Muslim people in that part of world. So it is my pleasure, and I am very happy, for joining you. Let me share my presentation with you. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So the title of my presentation is Sustainable Economic Development in Support of COVID-19 Affected Industries. So the presentation of Professor Shukra was really great about the networking strategy. My presentation is different from his presentation. Okay, let me first give a brief about the COVID-19 pandemic. So the COVID-19 pandemic is a global health crisis without precedent in living memory. As the death toll rises, the economic damage is already evident and represents the largest economic shock to the world. The world has experienced in decades. So it has triggered the most severe economic recession in the last century and is causing enormous damage in people's social life, businesses, and well-being. Actually, I think the most result of this pandemic is the uncertainty. So there is a great uncertainty now in the world. Nobody knows as a person, and also the governments, the states. No one can see the future. We cannot see tomorrow. We cannot, predict tomorrow, a few days later or a few months later. So there is a great uncertainty. I think this is, the most important result of this pandemic, and which also affects the economies, the industries, the sectors, and the businesses. So the COVID-19 pandemic represents an unprecedented disruption to the global economy and world trade, as production and consumption are scaled back across the globe. So increasing uncertainty and a worst case scenario where the second wave of infections, actually, I think we know these days, some countries are, experiencing this with renewed lockdowns hits before the end of 2020, especially some European countries. Again, the numbers of infected people and that numbers have been increasing. So emerging economies face recession and uncertainty, a great uncertainty. About just economic results of the COVID-19, So the deepest global recession indicates the most countries are expected to, be in recession in this year. So the baseline forecast envisions almost minus 5% contraction in global GDP in 2020. The pandemic is expected to slash global economic output by 8.5 trillion US dollars over the next 2 years, wiping out nearly all gains of the previous 4 years. Advanced economies are projected to shrink 8%. That weakness, for spill over the outlook for emerging market and developed economy, who are forecast to contract by 3% as they cope with the own domestic outbreaks of the virus. So this will represent the weakest show by this group of economies in the last 60 years. For emerging market and developing countries, it is critical to strengthen public health systems, address the challenges posed by the informality, and implement reforms that will support strong and sustainable growth once the health crisis abates. So I have to just brief table about this is the latest World Economic Outlook growth projections. So the world output, will be almost minus 5% decrease this year. This ratio is 8% for advanced economies. For Euro area, it is higher than 10%. For some Western European countries, the big economies in Europe continent, it is quite high. For example, for France, Italy, and Spain, these countries, are affected by this COVID-19 very nervously. So higher than 10%, around 13%, the GDP of these countries will be shrinken in this year. United Kingdom is also the same. If we look at emerging and developing Asia, actually for emerging markets and developing economies, it will around 3.7%. For emerging and developing Asia, it is around, for example, 5.5%. For China, it is a little higher, and ASEAN 5 countries, it is lower than 5%. Okay, the COVID-19 recession has seen the fastest, steepest downgrades in consensus growth projections among all global recessions since 1990. So world trade is forecast to shrink by nearly 50% in 2020 amid sharply reduced global demand and disruptions in global supply chains. So world trade is expected to fall by between 13% or something between 30% and 32% in 2020 as the COVID-19 pandemic disrupts normal economic activity and life around the world. So nearly all regions will suffer double-digit declines in trade volumes in 2020, with exports from North America and Asia hit hardest. Services trade, this is very important for emerging economies because the service sectors are very important for emerging economies, for developing Asian countries also. So services trade may be most directly affected by COVID-19 through transport and travel restrictions. So the tourism, I think, one of the most important sector in these terms. So the social side is also, the very bad performance. So the figure is not bright from the social side also. So unemployment is soaring and increasing in poverty. So this United Nations predict around 60 million people will face extreme poverty during this period. The economic impact of the global spread of COVID-19 has heightened market risk aversion in ways not seen since the global financial crisis in 2008. Over the longer horizon, the depreciations triggered by the pandemic are expected to leave lasting scars through lower investment and erosion of human capital through lost work and schooling and fragmentation of global trade and supply linkages. Therefore, linkages between insider and outsider, I think is very important, which is mentioned by Professor Sipra. So we now, are facing with a new era after the COVID-19 crisis. I believe if the health side, everything will be fine with health science. For example, in a few months later. But I think, again, some things will not be same. Actually, not some things, many things will not be same as we compare with the pre-pandemic period. So we will face a new era after the COVID-19, even if the health side, all things in health side would be fine. So long-term damage to potential output, productivity growth, and don't expect the developed economy's output to be back to pre-crisis levels until 2022. So there is a huge sectoral effects: airlines, industry, tourism, travel, transportation, international mobility, international education. These sectors are mostly deeply affected sectors by COVID-19 crisis, and I believe things would not be fine in those sectors in coming 2-3 years. So, and also sea and air cargo are dropping sharply. So we are facing a changing world. The world is changing. I think this something similar experienced in world in early 1980. So during the globalization process, actually, Professor Sukra, mentioned a new term, which is global local, so global local concept. But in early 1980, there was, a very fast globalization process, and the world actually, had been changing in that period also. And now, again, we are experiencing a changing world. The world is changing, and there are, many disputes, actually, many problems, many matters in the political field, in the social field, in economic field, in health field, about the disputes about the future of states, about the future of the democracy or other administration style, the future of globalization, the future of the European Union countries, European Union, so the future of China. So which country will be, will dominate the world in terms of politics and economy in future? So about the trade war, the protectionism, these challenges between China and US. And in many parts of the world, I believe there is increase in nationalism and crisis. And with Trump administration, it increased. It had been increased, but now I think after this COVID-19 period, in many parts of the world, especially in Western part of the world, the nationalism and protectionism will be increased. The importance of domestic production. So we see that how domestic production is important for countries, how domestic production, local production is important for especially emerging countries. It's very important, to produce the health materials, the food, agriculture, etc. Especially in the early period of this COVID-19, we obviously see these things, how domestic production is important for emerging countries, even also in for developed countries. We saw this for Italy, for Spain, for France. How it is important for a country, for a state, to produce its own health materials, its own food, agriculture sector, and also another, transformation, of course, in the field of digital. So there is digital transformation. The world is digitalization, changing the definition of power. So far in international relations, the power for countries, for states, defined as the capacity of army. But now I think the health systems and also the capacity of health system of countries, the capacity of local production, domestic production, agriculture sector would also be included in the new definition of power for states. So in this period, what can governments do? Or what should governments do? So the role of government becomes very important to maintain the sustainability of macroeconomic activities and business activities at the micro level. So the governments, they should do what can they do? They should do what can they do? So they should do their best for supporting the economy at macro and also especially at micro levels, at sectoral levels. So the government, they should expand the central bank liquidity support, urgent fiscal support to viable businesses. They should use of fiscal and monetary policy to support the domestic economy. Strong fiscal support is warranted, but it has consequences. Sectoral and micro level policies and financial sources for SMEs. I think this is very important, this issue, because the economy of many emerging economies or developing economies, the structure of economy, structure of economy, the size of SMEs is very important. So this financial access to the financial sources. So for SMEs is very important for those emerging economies or developing economies, especially during this COVID-19 period. So poor and vulnerable households. So the government should support the poor and vulnerable households. This is important for social side and also important for economy because so the demand for local production for companies will be created in this way. And for sustainable economic development. So what should government do? So the health system is very important. For a sustainable economic development, health system capacity of the countries is very important. This is the capacity of health system and also capacity of production, the health materials. So the domestic production, especially the food and agriculture and health materials, is very important for a sustainable economic development. Because even if the COVID-19 ends, so of course one day we don't know when, but one day it will be ended. So the world may face with new pandemics, with new other problems among countries, health problems, political problems, social problems. That's why the health system capacity of the countries, the domestic production capacity of the countries, the size of the agriculture, the capacity of the food production, local food production for countries, the capacity of the produce all the health materials for countries are very important. Also, digitalization, as I mentioned a few slides earlier. This is also very important for countries. So many countries, especially developing countries or emerging countries, they should make investment in digital sectors. They should try to create their own digital companies, not just depend on the foreign or international digital company. This is also very important for a sustainable economic development for emerging economies. And exports, of course, in this period, the export is very important for developing economies such as Indonesia, Turkey, Malaysia. Yeah, of course, we all know that it is not easy in that period. It's not easy for countries, due to especially travel restrictions. It's not easy, to increase their exports. But this is very important for countries. In this period, in COVID-19 period also, these countries should not stop their exports. It's very important for countries, for the economies, and for the many sectors, many industries in emerging economies. And monetary and fiscal support to the affected industries, such as tourism. I know tourism is very important for Indonesia, also for Turkey. And monetary and fiscal support to the airline transportations, to the SMEs, to the local firms, local companies, local production. These all together are very important for sustainable economic development for emerging economies or developing economies. I would like to thank you for again for inviting me and for listening to me. I don't know how much minutes I have, but this is my presentation. And terima kasih.
Thank you, Professor Mehmet, for sharing with us. And for noble audience, thank you for staying with us because we'll go further to question and answer session. Okay, because Professor Jaja Suteja has another meeting to attend, and I would like to please Professor Jaja to respond to the question addressed from Miss Ina from the ITB. Professor Jaja, we have sent the question or response from Miss Ina from ITB. The question is, there has been a lot of information explaining the startup companies, especially in fintech, and they have two obstacles, human resource and capital. I think both of them play an important role in sustainability of startups, where they are dealing not only with small companies, but also large companies. In fact, in my opinion, if human resources in the company have high capability, then the capital problem may not be a problem, big problem. So she asks you your opinion. Please, Professor Jaja.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Horas. I think human resources are very important factor as well as other resources. The ideal condition is that there is a synergy among the resources owned by financial technology. However, when human resources are superior but other resources are not competitive, this is the problem. But I think this is not a major problem. Study stated that development of technology best startup business ecosystem. I think financial technology startup in Indonesia requires that the support of the adequate and qualified human resources. So, moreover, Indonesia is considered to be quite slow in the developing and capturing the growth potential of startup that are expected to become a backbone of the future economy. So the increasing urgency of human capital and learning related to it then raises a huge need to information regarding the distribution of knowledge, the skill and characteristic required to fully participate in the so-called digital industrial society. Today's innovation-oriented and startup economy, policymakers are not only required to more concerned with the level of the traditionally literacy skill possessed by the populations. However, what is equally important, the increasing importance of the human capital, as well as the expansion of the capability needed to maintain productivity, and I think with the social cohesions. The success rate of startup, I think financial technologies startup is only 5%. So from the 5% financial startup success who can survive, do not only rely on financial or other resources, but how to build superior human resources. So I'm sorry to mention that the name of the companies as did the superior financial technology platform like the Gojek and Tokopedia. I think if the financial technology startup resources are outstanding or more competitive, investor will come and offer the need resources such as funding. Thank you very much, Mr. Horace and Mrs. Ina.
Thank you, Professor Jaja, for the response. Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue to the question and answer session, due to the Professor Jaja has another meeting to attend, and before he leaves the seminar, please we have a photo session.
I'm sorry because I have a meeting with the deans and the rector for discussing about the student elections.
Okay, Professor Jaja.
Sukses for all.
Raffi, the host. Okay, Raffi, please.
2, 1, go.
Okay.
One more. One more. One more.
One more.
One more.
Okay. Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Jaja.
Thank you very much, Mr. Horace. Sukses for you.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before we continue to the question and answer session, we have sent question to the speakers. Please check your private chat, Professor Nurzman Ali, Professor Mehmet, and Professor Sukri Langputeh, because we have selected some questions from the audience or participant, and we send the question through the chat menu privately. Okay, before we continue, the audience, actually one of our kindest colleagues from Korea's Jeonbuk University is also attending our seminar. He is Professor Choi Won-gyu. Professor Chon-gyu, are you? Hi. Professor Choi Won-gyu, nice to meet you, to see you again. Would you please share some details about how Korea, especially the business sector, is facing this COVID-19 pandemic? Please, Professor.
Okay. Good afternoon. Selamat siang.
Selamat siang, Professor.
I first introduce the Corona-19 pandemic situation in Korea. Let me have some. Okay. Would you please give me some right to share my screen?
Okay, Professor.
Okay. Okay. Today we have 61 Corona-19 new cases. Do you see the Korea Herald article? New virus cases fall back below 100 as national vigilant ahead of key holidays. And until today, we have 23,000 infections and of fertility cases, it means the death toll is about 400 since last January. And every day, the Korean government and Korean hospital and public health clinics tested more than 11,000. And we have already 3 million tests, so it is about 6% of total population. And I've heard and watched the seminar that the problems and challenges are very similar among many countries, including Indonesia, Turkey, Malaysia, Singapore, etc. In Korea, as I am a university professor, all universities have just online classes, except in graduate schools, some graduate schools, and elementary school, middle school, and high schools partially opened. And we have mandatory social distancing level 2. It means that we cannot join together inside if the number is more than 50, and we cannot meet if the total number is more than 100. But some people and some business have felt some fatigue because the social distancing is lasted more than several months, that sometimes there is a partially a group infection occurred. The government feared about that because next week we have Chuseok. It means another major holidays in Korea. But some companies and some workers cooperate even if they're okay. Hyundai mobile factory workers voted to accept wage freeze amid the pandemic. The government response is deficit budget building and support many small businesses and vulnerable groups by giving basic income support. And we have some changes in business field that there is a big increase in online shopping company and delivery part and instant food. And almost everyone is locked at their homes, that television sets and game box and some music or some pictures using supported by Netflix is booming. Also, the Zoom online conference tool is widely used. It's a kind of situation in Korea. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Professor Choi Won-gyu. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have various information of how this pandemic affected not only our business, our economy, but also our life. Thank you again, Professor Choi Won-gyu. Ladies and gentlemen, the four speakers have shared their views, started from Professor Nur Azman, and then Professor Jaja, Professor Sukri Langpute, and finally, Professor Mehmet. And now I would like to give this opportunity to Professor Nur Azman Ali to respond the question from Dwi Epti from Buana Perjuangan University Karawang, West Java. There is an issue about the recession due to the impact of this outbreak, and it has an impact on business as well. While some sources have stated that the multinational companies will relocate their business, how can we as a business people carry out the right business strategy in this unstable financial condition? Professor Nur Azman, are you with us? Thank you, Professor. Please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Horas, and Alhamdulillah that we trying to respond to any issue or any question that raised by participants. And thank you very much for that question by Dewey. That is about how multinational companies have started to make their, what you can say as a harsh decision, not to continue to deal business with some countries. So first, I would like to give a very general answer, which is we have to accept the reality now that the situation are not going to be the same. Number one, the reality now that this problem is not just local in Indonesia, Malaysia, Turkey, Thailand, or what, but this is a global issues. And one of the action taken by most government are what they call as mobility restriction. Mobility restriction means they have to limit or to put strict regulation for international mobility. So somehow or other, when we want to relate this issue to businesses, especially multinational business, so certainly their main consideration is about the economic impact. How does this restriction are going to affect their business in terms of profit, in terms of their operation, and so on. Number two, they are going to look at in terms of practicality. If there is no more international mobility, or if they cannot physically move from one place to another place, so certainly they have to make a big decision about this. And lastly, we talk about all businesses, not only multinational. Everyone, just now we're talking about survival. Okay, sustainability is another level, but people start thinking about their survival. How are they going to survive on these issues of pandemic? And what we can do, I think I'm also going to respond to question by Lely. I think there is a second question by Lely talking about how these SMEs are going to respond to the situation, including handcraft, tourism, kind of things. And I think one of the basic thing that every organization has to do is to focus on local. I think very interesting networking concept by Prof. Shukri just now. The insiders, outsiders and counting. So they have to strategize back. Okay, things are not going to be like before. So one of the things is to focus on local market. Okay. Number two, focus on international capabilities, work within, look at what is our internal strength and exploit the best to their strength. And another option, third option is to go for technology. Okay, if operational costs are going to be expensive to pay people while business are not very good, so another option is technology. Somehow technology is not cheap. So here, if there is any government incentive on how to stimulate business activities, take all opportunity available. Okay, whatever scheme or incentive by government, every businesses must be aware and alert about whatever government incentive intervention to make sure that they can proceed or continue with the business, do not miss out any available opportunity. And lastly, what I can say is about focusing on new market. Okay, new market, either online market, either no more, if there is no more international market, focus on local market. For example, on tourism, focus on local tourism, because international tourism is still just look like impossible now. So that's the best response that I can give. Certainly, it is general, but every individual business sector has to pick up and try to strategize on their own. Dr. Horas, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Nur Azman Ali, for the response. Now I would like to give an opportunity to Professor Sukri Langputeh. There is one response or question for you from Zul, Indonesia. How this SON strategy can be implemented by business sector? Does it have a relation to the culture? Professor Sukri, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is very interesting to be asked directly whether it can be implemented by business sector or not. I would like to say here that I developed this strategy when I was dean of the schools, dean of the faculty. At that time, I was trying to start my career as dean in order to get people into the circle. And then I realized that if I want to make my organization stronger, I would go to a very individual or personality of my staff. So starting from that, I try to make sure that what do they know about themselves and what do they know about others. So when it comes to business sector, all the staff that we have, all the staff that we recruit them into our company, what the knowledge they have before they come to our company, and then what the knowledge that we want them to know when they are recruited to our company. And that new knowledge means, new knowledge is related to what the company needs in the future. For example, now, if we are, doing something related to a country where, in terms of shipping, in terms of everything, so we need somebody who is really experts on that. And if he or she is not doing by herself, but at least she knows the body of knowledge about that things. So in this case, we are developing our personal or our individual staff in our company, our unit, or our organizations. And when we have somebody who really know what we want, the company wants, at that time, what the university wants or what the faculty wants, then I got stuck when he knows the new knowledge, but he cannot connect to the people. He cannot go to, to expand his frontiers of networking. So that's why I developed the end. Then I started asking them, who do you know around your circles? Who can you just start tomorrow working with them? So they are talking about insiders because that is their something that comes with themselves. So after that, when I asked them to go outside the campus to do something, they go to Bangkok, they go to Chiang Mai, University, they go to Khon Kaen University in northeastern Thailand. So I asked them, with whom do you want to do connections when you go out from your own frontiers? So finally, my staff told me that, okay, I would try to find out my friends who are coming from my city who are working there. But that's why I try to develop outsiders, those who are coming from the same place with my staff, but finally they are working there. So when it comes to business, it means that when you do want to do something, you should find out somebody who are your old partners, but now living somewhere else. So that's why when we are, trying to strategize at this level, we will know how powerful we are connecting the people who have been known to each other for some times, and with that we can just go with the new connections, friends of friends. So when it comes to business sector, I think this sun strategy will be kind of a guide, one of many guides that you have, but at least you come up with the steps. Okay, before going to networking, you must have a strong organization, because the new network will ask you from where you are, what kind of logo, what kind of emblem that you have to be chopped on the, on the paper. Then that organization should be based on groups of staff who are ready to work in stronger organization and making a wider and stronger and more fruitful networking. So that's why I said when it comes to business sector, sometimes it can be seen clearer than academic sector. I applied in academic sector, and based on that, why I go a bit faster. Fatoni University is in very remote area, very conflict. We are living in conflict areas, but we could have very strong commitment of our staff who can connect to 39 countries I mentioned because of using this. So I think when it comes to business sector, it can go faster because in business sector, we are talking about profit sharing. So when we are talking about profit sharing, when you gain more profits, then you want to work faster with me. But in academics, sometimes take you sometimes, I mean, sometimes 1 or 2 years to be published in Scopus, in Reuters, whatever. But in business, just 1 second, you know how much you will get. In 1 or 2, 3 seconds, you know how much, you know, how many people who can bring profit to you. So I think it is, in fact, more appropriate, even more suitable to be implemented in business sector. Then how it relates to culture, for sure. I think when we are living in one community, for example, orang Melayu or orang Java, we have our own specific kind of business culture. The way we talk, the way we utter our first words. Hello, good morning. Assalamualaikum. Sawadee krab. So all those greetings is in fact culture. So we should know with whom you should greet by what language, or even just now you see our first speaker, I mean, the director himself has mentioned greetings of different languages. It means this is the culture is in fact. So in business, the more you know, the more deeper. I mean, the deeper you have or you know the culture of others or your customers, then the faster you can gain whatever you want. So when it comes to the level of all organizations, finally it will come up with new culture, new business culture, new business atmosphere. That finally, when you have, I take 1 minute more. When I compare with my students who have more friends, I take students who are very local from very remote village of Patani. I asked him, how many friends do you have? He said, I got 20 friends. I mean, I got a friend from 20 countries. So when I look at him, I saw and I found that his culture of talking, culture of entertaining friends, and his own mindset has changed, and his behavior has changed. So with that, I believe that there will be new culture when you really apply the sun strategy to your own business sector. Your company will be changed totally by having the staff who has enough 3H just now: new knowledge, new skills, and new motivations. And then finally, he is given chance to show his own performance to the others. And finally, with that, he can connect to the world. That's the word globe code I mean. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Professor. A very simple but applicable response or answer from Professor Sukri. Now I would like to give opportunity for Professor Mehmet. You have one question from Professor Atang Hermawan, the Dean of Faculty of Economic and Business Unpas. Today has got to be saddest day of our economics due to pandemic, hit recession in country. Referring to this condition, what do you think the best action should be taken by Indonesian government or any other country government in order to cope with the economic worsening, and what contribution can be done by educational institution? Please, Professor Mehmet.
Thank you, Horace. Actually, it is not, the bad days only for your economy. For many economies in the world, for many countries, especially for developed countries, I think the situation is quite well for underdeveloped countries. For underdeveloped, because there is close relations between this pandemic and the level of integration to the global economy, global trade system. So, the most developed countries, they are most integrated with the global system, international trade. So they are, highly affected by the pandemic. And, the underdeveloped countries or less developed countries, since they are, not so integrated with international trade systems, global financial and services, trade system, they are less affected. So this is, the problem of the world problem. And most economies in the world has been affected by this pandemic. Of course, the level of affected by for countries is different. All countries, they are not affected at the same level. But for as an emerging economy, Indonesian government, I think, should use the fiscal policies and monetary policies, not only monetary policy. As I can see, many countries during that period, they use only the monetary policy tools. But I think the monetary policy tools is not, itself is not enough, to cope with this, pandemic, or to decrease or to eliminate the negative effects of the pandemic. Therefore, the Indonesian government should also use the fiscal policies, some fiscal policy steps. I think this is the most important things. And of course, there are some things that should be in the short time, in the short period, and some things in the long period. For example, to support the domestic, to increase the capacity of the health systems, to production of the health materials. These things should be should be in the long term, maybe in 2-3 years or in a few years. But some things, there are some things that can be done in the short period, not long period. For example, the SMEs is very important for emerging countries, as I know, because as I said in the beginning of my presentation, I have been a few times in Indonesia, and as I know, the SMEs, the small businesses are very important for Indonesian economy. So the government should also, support those companies, those businesses. And tourism is important for Indonesia economy. Also, the tourism sector, such sectors should be, supported by the government. And the poor people, the vulnerable people, poor people, they should also be, supported by the government directly with some fiscal policies, with some transfers, spending, government transfer spending directly. So, I think the government should not, think the inflation rate or the ratio of the budget deficit in this period. So they can do what they should do. What can they do? The developed countries, do the same thing. The U.S. does the same thing. So they should not, consider the budget deficit and some other, the orthodox arguments. And some things I think maybe can be done, as Professor Nur Azman mentioned, some alternative options. For example, since the travel restrictions, it is not easy to increase the tourism in that period. But the government should can focus to increase the domestic tourism, local tourism among different parts of the Indonesia. Also, maybe try to increase the trade or the export with the neighbor countries, very close countries, the geographically close and culturally close countries. And also maybe, the some restrictions on travel with very close countries should be eliminated in that period. European Union countries, they did the same things, not for all, members, but some members of the EU, they removed the restrictions for, travel. And I think one part of the question was about the education institution. What can education institution can do in that period? They should support the government. They should, state institutions by research and development. For example, research, research development works about digitalization, about the increasing domestic product, about the increasing the health capacity of the country, about increasing the production of the health materials, about increasing some alternatives such increasing tourism, exports, trade, production of the country. So the institutions, the education institution, the universities, they should support the government with their research and development activities. But this is very difficult times. We are surviving the difficult times, and I hope we all, inshallah, will be much better soon in the whole world and Indonesia and other countries. We can only pray. We can only pray from Allah. So nothing we have nothing that we can do besides the praying. Okay, thank you, Soras.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have a very rich and various information and knowledge from around the world, as stated by 4 speakers, started from Professor Nur Azman Ali, who discussed the risk management for business continuity in relation to the COVID-19 issue, and then Professor Jaja Suteja, how to cope and dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic, especially for fintech startup business. And then Professor Sukri Langputeh, who have stated the stunt strategy, for dealing with this pandemic situation. And finally, from micro perspective that have mentioned, stated and discussed from Professor Dr. Mehmet Hussein Bilgin. Thank you for your answer and respond, Professor Nur Azman Ali, Professor Jaja Suteja, Professor Sukri Langputeh, Professor Mehmet Hussein Bilgin, and also for my dear colleague, Professor Choi Won-gyu from Jeonbuk University, Korea. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our session. We are very grateful to all speakers and participants who have been following this seminar with great enthusiasm. May this knowledge be beneficial to our life, moreover, to survive in this coronavirus pandemic. It's been my pleasure to host this event. We look forward to seeing you at next event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I'm giving back this event to Mr. Budi, the MC of this seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Horace Julius. You led the session magnificently, and all of the speakers are magnificent as well. I'd like to remind all the participants here, don't forget to fill the attendance list, which was sent through the chat room and also through the WhatsApp group. To all participants, we will show you a short video about us. So take and enjoy your time before we close this event.
Universitas Pangki 37 program studi, yaitu 25 program studi sarjana, 9 program studi magister, dan 3 program studi doktor. Program studi di dalam Universitas Pasundan sebagian besar telah mendapat akreditasi A. Fakultas yang terdapat di dalam Universitas Pasundan adalah Fakultas Hukum, Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Politik, Fakultas Teknik, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan, Fakultas Ilmu Seni dan Sastra, Pasca Sarjana,
Untuk Unpas, selamat untuk Jawa Barat, karena bagaimanapun ini adalah kebanggaan rakyat.
Dengan prinsip
Jawa.
smart, endurance, dan teamwork, berkuliah di sini banyak sekali poin plusnya.
Di sini pun kami belajar tentang konversi energi dan desain engineering.
Di teknik PWK Unpas juga banyak banget praktikum-praktikumnya. Jadi, bukan hanya sekedar teori yang kita dapatkan, tetapi juga aplikasinya di lapangan.
Selain berurusan sama sampah dan air, kami juga dibekali ilmu perencanaan infrastruktur, pengolahan limbah berbahaya, remediasi lahan terkontaminasi, dan upaya proteksi lingkungan.
Bukan hanya meneliti keamanan pangan saja, di teknologi pangan ini, kami para mahasiswanya juga harus dapat meninjau kualitas produk pangan.
Teknik Industri Unpas menjadi kampus pertama yang menggunakan metode U-Learning dan UBT Center, serta menerapkan metode Enterprise Research Planning.
Satu yang menjadi kebanggaan Universitas Pasundan adalah Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis. Dengan 3 program studi, yaitu program studi manajemen, program studi akuntansi, dan program studi ekonomi pembangunan.
Saya, Dekan Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Pasundan, mengajak kepada seluruh elemen masyarakat, khususnya masyarakat Jawa Barat dan umumnya masyarakat Indonesia, untuk bergabung dalam wadah pendidikan tinggi milik Paguyuban Pasundan, milik kita semua.
Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Pasundan, Pengkuh Agamana, Luhung Elmuna, Jembar Budayana.
Pusing cari kampus, bingung nentuin jurusan, lulus sekolah ingin kuliah di bidang pendidikan. STKIP Pasundan adalah solusinya. 12 Juli 1986, STKIP Pasundan berdiri sebagai salah satu perguruan tinggi di bawah naungan Yayasan Pendidikan Tinggi Pasundan. Kenapa harus STKIP Pasundan? Karena STKIP Pasundan merupakan kampus dengan akreditasi B, fasilitas lengkap seperti sport hall, lab multimedia, lab bahasa, ruang micro teaching, fitness center, perpustakaan, dan stadion mini. Dosen yang berkualitas, biaya terjangkau. Program studi apa saja yang ada di STKIP Pasundan? Program studi sarjana S1, program studi pendidikan jasmani, kesehatan, dan rekreasi atau PJKR, program studi pendidikan Pancasila dan kewarganegaraan atau PPKN, program studi pendidikan bahasa Inggris, program studi magister S2, magister pendidikan jasmani, magister pendidikan IPS. Wow, menarik bukan? Tentunya, STKIP Pasundan akan menjadi solusi yang tepat buat kamu-kamu yang ingin mengembangkan bakat dan kuliah di bidang pendidikan. Ayo, segera daftar menjadi mahasiswa STKIP Pasundan. Ayo, kuliah di STKIP Pasundan. Untuk informasi lebih lanjut, hubungi
Tutorial penggunaan e-learning bagi mahasiswa Magister Akuntansi.
Kota Bandung terkenal sebagai kota pendidikan. Tidak salah jika di kota kembang ini banyak terdapat perguruan tinggi. Salah satu perguruan tinggi ternama yakni Universitas Pasundan. Perguruan tinggi di bawah naungan organisasi tertua di Jawa Barat, yakni Paguyuban Pasundan. Di tahun 1960, Paguyuban Pasundan mendirikan Universitas Pasundan atau UNPAS. Magister Ilmu Komunikasi, Magister Pendidikan Bahasa Indonesia, Magister Kenotariatan dan Magister Akuntansi. Memiliki ruang kuliah yang nyaman dengan dosen pengajar yang mumpuni dan berpengalaman serta berbagai fasilitas lain seperti perpustakaan,
mudah menemukan berbagai referensi dan jurnal internasional menjadi alasan saya untuk memilih Pasca Sarjana Unpas.
Ruang sidang, aula seminar, laboratorium bahasa,
fasilitasnya juga oke, nggak kalah sama kampus lainnya kok.
Media online, tempat ibadah, serta kafe rooftop dengan pemandangannya yang indah. Berbagai kegiatan telah diselenggarakan oleh manajemen dan mahasiswa pasca sarjana Unpas. Bahkan, pernah mendatangkan Presiden Indonesia Joko Widodo, sejumlah menteri, dan tokoh nasional lainnya. Kegiatan lainnya yang rutin digelar di pasca sarjana yakni reuni Ikat Pasca Sarjana Unpas, seminar nasional dan internasional, serta rapat kerja manajemen dan pimpinan.
Pendidikan harus menciptakan mahasiswa yang memiliki karakter asertif, yaitu karakter petarung yang pantang menyerah dan pemberani. Karakter mahasiswa yang seperti itulah yang nantinya bisa menyelamatkan aset-aset Indonesia yang tersisa dan mengubah dunia. Pasca Sarjana Unpas mencetak mahasiswa yang luhung ilmunya, pengkuh agamanya, jembar budayanya, dan diharapkan melahirkan para pemimpin yang cinta dan dicintai oleh masyarakat dan bangsanya.
Tutorial penggunaan e-learning bagi dosen program studi Magister Sarjana Universitas Pasundan. Terima kasih. Tutorial penggunaan e-learning bagi mahasiswa Magister Akuntansi.